Real news. Honest and fun political talk weekly on the line 90.7 FM. Nick Fuentes has been banned from YouTube for anyone that doesn't know that yet. And I'm not going to lie, I was not surprised by this. I am only surprised it took him this long to do it. I thought it would happen during the Groyper Wars, but maybe... I tend to think YouTube knew who he was, but I think they were kind of milking the ad money while they could. Then they demonetized him. And then they completely took him off. But JF, who's like some sort of YouTuber that I don't know if I'd call him alt-right, but he's definitely like in those circles.
He's a fucking joke.
Yeah.
JF. Like, you know, he had that like autistic woman he was like banging, and then he has that like there's some really screwed up things with like the child support. Like they had some really just strange shit he was doing with his like I don't know if it was his wife or girlfriend or baby mama, whatever you want to call it. Like he's just like he was I think a graduate. He was a professor I think at Duke University. He got kicked out or he got in trouble because he was I think he was like banging one of his students.
Jesus.
You can look that up. I think.
Yeah, I'll look up the lore on that.
Yeah, I think he was like they mentioned that in the who was that thing you showed me earlier.
The Ralph report.
Yeah, Ralph report. Like he just did some really, and he got like Soros fund. Like he missing like I think it was 25 grand or was it 250 grand in Soros money? I think it was 25 grand.
Jesus.
Like he proudly admitted to it. Like he even told like Richard Spencer on live stream. Even Richard Spencer was like, okay.
Spencer's like, oh, we gotta keep that quiet.
He's like, yeah. Like, Jesus, that guy. And he had some like really weird stuff too, like talking about like age of consent and like some weird stuff. How like I think I remember seeing this once. It was like pedophilia. He was saying was like there was an evolutionary reasoning for that.
Well, the Duke University connection on Wikipedia, it says from September 2011 until September 2015, he studied social interactions in monkeys at the Institute of Brain Sciences at Duke University. He studied biology at University of Montreal and a few other things, but he was never a professor. He just sort of studied there. But he left Duke University for Canada because, quote, this is what he told Daily Beast, he'd grown disillusioned with the scientific community. He explained it more on Facebook. In 2014, he received $25,000 from the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein to start the nonprofit organization Neuro.tv, which was dedicated to education on science and philosophy via YouTube. Asked whether he regrets taking any money from the sex offender, I can't pronounce his name, so I'm just saying he. He said, quote, I'd cash a check straight from the devil if I could allow me to advance science or science education. I did not know the other conviction of Epstein.
It wasn't Soros, it was Epstein. You know,
that's better. Yeah, so this guy's got a weird sort of past, and he's got some weird views that I obviously don't agree with. But on Twitter, like, there's a video of him saying this too, but on Twitter, he flat out, there was a video where he was talking about teaming up basically with Antifa to ban Fuentes. And on Twitter, he even said, Nick Fuentes has gone from YouTube thanks to all the Antifa volunteers who have contributed to our campaign. That is such a bad fucking look. You look such like an idiot. Anybody that's, buddies with Antifa is an enemy of free speech, and they're not a serious player. I'm sorry. That's just disgusting. Antifa hurts people and kills people. They use violence as a political tool. I mean, why would you want anything to do with those communists? And he gets ripped to shreds in the comments. Like, I mean, this hatred's coming from, apparently, he said below, he says, Fuentes attacked my family a few weeks ago, so he was moved to my black book. Ooh. And I promised I would seek vengeance and deplatform him. Look, as somebody who recently had to deal with these Groyper types attacking, people close to me, I understand why you would have a hatred. I understand that, but I would still never call for them to be deplatformed or banned from YouTube or team up with fucking Antifa. I mean, that's just insane.
What was he saying about what was Nick Fuentes saying about his family? Was he saying that he was like
banging an autistic chick?
If you look, what?
Banging an autistic chick? That's probably something he would say. I saw him on a stream saying that. He's like, yo, you bang a retard or something like that.
Well, I mean, maybe take out some of the connotations, but I'm pretty sure he admitted to having a sexual relationship with an autistic girl, and I think you have to look that up on the Ralph thing. But like, apparently, she was taken from him by the state.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was some like the parents were like suing him. Like, he did some really kind of shady stuff over there. I remember this was coming out when like him and Worski had some conflict. Like, he's just such a weird guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. There's just so much strange stuff, and like the more I look into this guy, it's like, is he being serious? You know, he almost sounds like the alt right version of V, like V Monroe. And I mean, I think he actually. I'm not sure. I mean, he hangs out with Richard Spencer, so I don't know if he would identify as alt right.
I think he basically is all right. If you hang out with Richard Spencer, you're all right.
Like, not like, on a pretty personal level, because he's live streamed
Yeah.
with him a bunch of times.
Oh yeah. Every time I see a video of
Talked about,
JF, Richard Spencer's there.
and I know that was like one of the issues with him and Worski, was because like he was starting to get really into that, and then like he kind of cucked Worski on his own stream. Like, he literally just started taking it over and started talking about politics and Worski. He called him like low IQ Worski or something.
Oh my
'Cause he
god.
didn't want to be involved with some of that. I don't know. Worski's an interesting person too. He's done some really crazy shit, and I think he got someone, arrested
Mhm.
because of his fucking antics. Like, I don't know, but at least with Worski, I don't think he's, he is pretty stupid.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's really malicious per se. I just don't think he really thinks. And, he's probably got a cocaine addiction. Probably, not confirmed.
I've heard that rumor.
Well, I think like him and who was like, I don't know if it was Ice Poseidon, but they would like talk about that shit on back when they used to do their like blood sports stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That was a thing too. I miss that shit, because it was pretty funny. You would see some funny shit on there. I miss those days, but I guess in this current YouTube ecosystem, that's probably not.
That's demonetized.
Well, I mean, yeah, like they won't even let them take their donations. I don't know. Do they still do that? Like the kill stream or?
Oh yeah, Milo was on the kill stream recently. Remember?
Oh shit! I have to go and look for that again. Like, you had to go to some really weird sites so you can find these anymore. So you used to just be able to find on YouTube, and you might still be able to find like re-uploads or something, but like they'd have to go and like have like friends or something host on their YouTube account until they get banned, and then just go to the next guy.
Yeah.
Because they kept getting banned.
Yeah. And the other thing too, I'm trying to look through more of these comments, see if there's any more information on these supposed threats to his family, or attacks on his family. But the thing that I noticed that some people said, and I'm gonna kind of add on to it a bit, is you see the problem that these, like this has been a problem a while. Like we've had Milo, Gavin McGinnis, Alex Jones, Roger Stone. A lot of these people have already been banned from all these platforms after they became big, after they were, basically mainstream figures in the 2016 Trump movement. But now, when you're seeing people like Fuentes banned, who have only like, a seventh, an eighth of the followers that these people used to have, and as we know, like when you're on these platforms, that's when your popularity is going to be at your peak, and it's only going to go down from there. And your core audience is going to stay with you, your loyal fans. The problem that Fuentes has after this ban that's absolutely detrimental to him is that he has about, I think it was like 80,000 subs on YouTube or something at the time before he was banned. That's nothing compared to some of what these other figures have or had. He hasn't built enough of a following. He hasn't built enough of a backup with emails and phone numbers to send stuff to his followers. He's kind of, I don't want to say he's done, but he's not going to grow much after this. If anything, he's going to probably try to grow an audience on D Live, and they'll probably take him down from there. But if you don't have all your followers' emails and numbers, they're not going to be able to. A lot of your audience is just going to be gone. they won't come for you. That you only have a core that will be on those email lists. So that's the thing, is that none of these people are ever going to achieve the heights that other people have already achieved. And he doesn't make allies at all. He just pisses people off like a lot of these groypers do. And I know Fuentes is smarter than a lot of them because he said, we got to make allies, but he hasn't been doing that. The only allies he's made are cat boys and, people on these other fringe things. And if those are your allies, I mean, you're not going anywhere. You're not going to build a sustainable, lasting movement. That's how I interpret this. This is, I don't want to say it's killed the Groyper movement, but it's kind of put a cap on it.
I don't know. I think, when they start seeing that might actually empower more people. Like, hey, this must be pretty cool because they're banned from YouTube.
I think that's definitely an effect of it, but it's harder for new people than to discover these sort of people. Maybe some people close to these circles might, but it's going to be harder for newer people to discover them, and it makes them seem less mainstream.
I don't think they were ever really mainstream.
No, but isn't it? I would think that's their ultimate goal. If I'm, is to kind of bring their ideas into the mainstream. This become the new party, but they're kind of screwed with this. It's not a good thing. Deplatforming works. I hate to say it, but it does. These alternative platforms suck. Gab sucks. Mine sucks. Nobody's on them. Nobody uses them, and they're not as good as current platforms. Like BitChute's nowhere near as good as YouTube. I'm sorry, it just isn't as a service.
I think they're definitely growing. I think, the more people start going over there, the more people will actually start paying attention to that content.
Well, I wonder if what could happen is that if you ban so many fun, interesting people that are actually mainstream, like PewDiePie or any of these other bigger channels, that some alternatives have a chance. Because that's what I kind of saw happening with DLive. It's interesting that PewDiePie, I believe, doesn't stream on Twitch anymore. He only streams on DLive. And you just have him on there. Like, he's saying a trend right there. He's saying DLive is the new place to live stream gaming. So, I don't know.
That's the thing. You need, like, if you're a company and you have a great idea for a new social media service like Facebook or YouTube, that's what you need to go and do. Like, you have to go and get a really big star from YouTube.
Yes.
And move them over to another service.
Yes.
It's like what happened with the BBC and Top Gear. When they moved out, they got people to actually start going to Amazon.
Yep.
And for a while, it was probably the only real like that. There was like two shows. I know we were talking about this earlier. It was like, the Top Gear or the Grand Tour and like Man the High Castle, and that was pretty much it. Now I went on there. They have a lot of really good content. Just between that whole service, it's really come a long way since when I first started watching it.
Oh yeah, I mean, because my family got to watch Grand Tour for my dad and I, my mom started watching some of the shows on there, and it has that ripple effects, and she tells other people about it. People that already have Prime. They're like, oh, we'll check this out too. So, that again, you're dead on with that, which is that you need a big mainstream star to get on your platform to sort of bring that clout with them and their fan base to grow your platform. Else nobody else is going to use it, because politics is kind of, it's not a big industry.
Well, you need more than that too, because I think there was another streaming service that got this like ninja guy who used to be a big Twitch star, and I forget the name of it. I don't know if it is DLive. You have to go and look, because he was a big Fortnite player, Ninja.
Yeah.
And he was paid to go to like this other I think it was Mixer or something.
Yeah, I'm trying to find Wikipedia, see if it says. Because it's Mixer, Microsoft's Mixer, which I've never heard of. I mean,
even if you get a big star like that to go over there, it's not guaranteed. You need to get other people to kind of go on there as well. You need to have more than just one person, or you have to be particularly interested.
Yeah, of course.
It's not guaranteed, because I've never I have no idea what the heck Mixer is. I just know that guy went on there, and I didn't even really know that. I just know he went somewhere that's not Twitch.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, of all the big social media, whatever you want to call it, social media content, development, well, not real content development, but like content hosting, video content hosting sites, I think Twitch is going to be the first to go. because they've gone to the point where like they ban so many things, like you can't vape on there, you can't
What?
like girls have to go and like be very careful what they put on there. I think
They have to be covered
they
up.
limit. Yeah, well, because they did have an issue with like
E-girls.
girls just screaming, like streaming with like little clothes on. You just it was basically like a campsite for kids, basically what was becoming of that. So they limited a bunch of that, especially like right wing content was not allowed. But then they'd make exceptions for certain people. They could go and break all these rules, but it was okay because they bring in a lot of money. That's
Hmm.
kind of what I've seen with them.
They're catering to the Chinese, like all of them are. Like, look, you look at Google, YouTube, owned by Google, does a shitload of business in China. You look at Twitch, they're owned by Amazon. They do a shitload of business over in China. It's like this is what they're doing. They're trying to become advertiser friendly, but these advertising
Hmm.
firms are doing business in China too.
Hmm.
Like it's all to cater these they're all whores to the Chinese. Like that's what they're doing. And you can't match that because China is far and away the second biggest market in the world. So like
Well, I think the problem. Well, see that I don't know if that's entirely true. That causes all these problems. Because look at what was that? What's that one service that like other like it's almost like Vine 2.0,
Oh
uh,
yeah, the
TikTok or Musically.
well,
TikTok.
TikTok is a Chinese company.
I
Yeah.
know, but they're
Yeah.
actually better in a lot of ways compared to YouTube with the stuff they allow on there.
Yeah.
I've literally never heard of Vine until you just said it right now.
Really? Vine was
Yeah.
a Twitter offshoot that would do 6-second videos. It was popular for a few
Oh.
years, then they like killed it.
Yeah.
But it's coming back. They originally were calling it Vine 2.0. Fuck, what's the name? Byte. Yeah, now
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like TikTok is basically just Vine.
it is.
It's a
Yeah,
little bit, like,
they just
basically
brought it
being-
back.
like, 'cause
But
that's all
now,
it is like
now the new service is going to be called because like the guy that made what's it called? Vine originally. He's bringing it back with a new service called Byte, and I think
Yeah, okay. So so I'm just looking up. Vine is started by some Twitter
Yeah, somebody got
employee or
started
something
Twitter.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's now freeware.
Well,
Yeah,
It's now
Vine is-
it's now open source. And I'm sorry, like the like you're not going to match like Google and Twitter and them because there's no
well, no,
ability to make money like
Well,
there
that's what
is
Byte
on
is.
site.
Byte
Vine,
is
Vine's
having.
dead.
Yeah, the
Vine
Vine.
died years
Yeah.
ago. But it was very popular for a time, for a certain period of time.
But it's not gonna. You're not gonna match. That's what I'm saying. You're not gonna match these other companies long term. Like, even if you completely rock it, basically Google and them, they're gonna play the long game. Like that
Yeah.
financially, they're gonna dry you out and then either buy you at a discount or force you into bankruptcy. Like,
Well, and even
the-
like what's his name? Trent Lipinski was talking about on here was that YouTube is looking to be the next Netflix. They're looking to get a subscription service or become a subscription service where people are paying them monthly fees, so they're constantly getting money if the whole advertiser thing doesn't last, which they seem to think it won't. I'm pretty sure Byte I'm trying to find this out to double check, but I think the biggest difference, the way Byte is trying to differentiate itself from TikTok, is that you can monetize your content or something. I forget what it is exactly, but I'm gonna look that up.
Well, you can monetize on TikTok, I think.
I think there's
There's
something
way-
different about it.
Yeah, I mean, you can monetize in pretty much every video platform in the current age. You just need to be popular to do it. Same thing with YouTube, same thing with just about everything else.
Mm-hmm.
But now, like, I don't know, like for being a Chinese company, it's more free in some ways than a lot of American companies because it's not run by like leftists that we see them. Like, they're communists, but they're actually better off than communists over here.
They're probably spying on you, though. I never download TikTok ever. Never
Well,
will.
I mean, everything that you have anyways is already spying on you. It's
I'd
just
rather
who's
the
spying.
Americans spy on me than the Chinese.
I don't know, man. I really don't know because if it's the Chinese, what are they gonna do?
Well, they'll
The
probably...
Americans worry me more when they spy on me because I live in America. In China, and the worst they might do is like steal my information, and I don't think they'd really be interested in doing that, or else they'd have their stuff taken down. It's mostly like, if you're in the NSA or something, I probably wouldn't, be careful about installing these applications. But like, if you're a regular citizen, I'd be more worried about the U.S. government.
I'm
As long
not
as we
even
don't go to
kidding you,
China.
but when I Google Byte versus TikTok, the second video that comes up has a fucking furry in the thumbnail.
Oh God! So is that like the furry social media
Yeah,
thing?
it
I know
could be.
Telegram was pretty bad with that for a while.
Yes, that's
with the
true.
furries.
Yep.
That was where they first kind of launched.
Yeah, it says on this TechCrunch article, what Hoffman hopes, he's a guy, I guess it's creating Byte, will differentiate Byte is an early focus on helping content creators make money, something TikTok and other micro-entertainment apps largely don't offer. The app plans to soon launch a pilot of its partner program for offering monetization options to people providing popular on Byte. Hoffman said we're looking at a bunch of options, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, so they're looking more about monetization and giving people sort of revenue from what they do.
It seems like it's more content creator centric system, which honestly I'm surprised. Like YouTube's definitely not that.
No.
Like they kind of hate the content creators and make it difficult. They don't tell you why your apps or like your videos are demonetized.
And that's the thing
Like,
too that's happening with Twitch, is that it's so hard to get monetized on Twitch and there's so many rules. That's where DLive's coming in, and you only need 200 followers to actually become a partner with DLive, and you get a bunch of perks with that. I don't remember the entire rundown of it, but like fucking Twitter, I think this is true, but you can't get verified anymore. They've like paused their verification program for the past year or two, which is really stupid.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Why would they do that?
Well, because the system's kind of sucky and it's had a lot of issues. And I was trying to figure out how to get us verified on Twitter and the new org we've been working on. And I Google, Twitter verification, and I got a bunch of things coming up saying like you can't get verified on Twitter anymore, which is really weird. Like, how do people do it now?
Well, what's even the point of like what does verification really do? Like, what does it really mean to some of these people? Because like,
well, it's huge because
at
it means
first
your
it was
account's
just,
legit.
At first it was like, hey, if you're like Donald Trump or like Joe Biden or something, you'd have
I just saw Byte. Byte is the successor of Vine.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, that's what. Yeah.
I don't know. TikTok almost feels like a spiritual successor because it's like short form video content that you can like just binge a bunch of different shit at once.
Yeah, TikTok was basically, Wendowski means it's like the next Vine or whatever. It's kind of, it's done by a different company, but the guys that made Vine were going to bring it back and make like a direct successor. And they were calling it Vine 2.0 for the longest time. And then they finally came out with the name Byte. So that's like the direct successor to Vine, but TikTok is sort of Vine but done by a different company, a Chinese Vine.
Yeah, but a lot of Americans use it now.
Yeah, I know. You're gonna see some sort of big controversy. That, trust me, some sort of.
Dude, they've had a bunch of controversies on there already. Like, look up like TikTok controversy, but it's like it's done such a way that like you would never be able to have these controversies in the West because they do it the opposite way. So like, instead of like banning people who are criticizing like the gays on there, they just banned like
they banned gays,
like, something like that.
Yeah, 52% of while TikTok has a gender neutral bias format, 44% of TikTok users are female, while 56% are male. 43% new users are from India, and definitely 41% of their users are ages 16 to 24. 90% say they use on a daily basis. Yeah, it's
Yeah, it's a definitely it's a different sort of ecosystem over there.
the
Fuck
biggest,
the China.
most followed account on TikTok. They have like a list like the top 10 ones. Number one has 54 million followers. Every single one of these is a Chinese account, except number 5, which they consider a Hong Kong account.
Well, yeah, I mean, it used to, like Musically was a U.S. account, like based service, and then I think
Do they buy them?
TikTok bought them out or something.
Mm,
So it is basically Chinese Vine,
yeah.
you know. So I mean, it's interesting. Like I'm glad they're having, we have more than just YouTube, basically.
Apparently,
It's a little worrisome.
I didn't know about this, but in December 2019, the U.S. Navy and the U.S. Army banned TikTok from all government-issued devices.
Well, yeah, because it's made from China.
Mhm.
Oh yeah,
It means
I didn't even hear
that's
about that when it happened though. So I said I would never download it. I don't trust it.
I don't know, man. I don't trust it. I don't trust Google, man.
China's our
what are they
enemy.
gonna
I know
do?
that I no longer trust our legal system to enforce any of this shit either.
Mm.
Yeah, like the FISA courts are fucked. Like, why would I care more about a Chinese company than a U.S. based company when they both spy on you?
Well, the Chinese are definitely our enemy. They're trying every way to, you know, take over the world. So I would trust them far less.
What are they gonna do? Like, what are they gonna do with your information?
That's what everybody always says about these privacy concerns. Oh, I have
Well,
nothing to
no,
hide.
like I know what the U.S. will do with information. I know, and it's worse what the Chinese will do because we don't live in China.
Well,
Like I'd be more worried about Google showing my information and giving to the NSA than them giving to China because what do I care if China doesn't like what I'm saying? What do they care if I say Xi Jinping looks like Winnie the Pooh? I don't plan on traveling to China, but I plan on traveling in this country.
mm.
So if I go and say something offensive that would raise concerns, I'd be more worried about them like pulling a red flag law on me or something because China can't do that.
Well, I wouldn't
Who's
trust.
to say China isn't pulling their strings too?
Well,
Mm,
I don't think
I think they
I'm more
are.
worried about the U.S.
But
They,
our
I think
government
yeah.
is under
Who's to
Chinese
say that some of
influence.
these yeah, who's to say some of these Chinese companies aren't fucking paying off these politicians via uh campaign donations?
Yep.
well, I think it's less of a direct link than the U.S. companies. With the U.S.
Mhm.
companies, it's that you can easily see who's going to do what. With the Chinese companies, they have less power than the U.S. ones do to U.S. citizens.
For now.
Hmm.
I mean, both of them aren't good, but I trust. And that's sad that I have to go and believe. But just look at what we have, like the FISA warrants. Look what happened to Trump. Look at the Snowden files. Look at all that stuff. Why would I trust the U.S. government more than I would trust pretty
Yeah.
much anyone else when I
I'm
know that?
I'm nervous as hell. Like post Trump,
Mm.
America. I'm nervous as hell because I feel like he's probably the only person actively fighting all of this shit.
Yeah.
And I think once he goes, because you have the Democratic Party that's like wanting to destroy him and this country, and then you have a Republican Party, for the most part, that's just kind of, eh, I didn't see anything.
Yeah.
It's like they're non-confrontational. They don't want to see anything. They don't want to do anything, and it's like, well,
Well,
I,
I want to mention two things actually, because I'm glad you brought that up, Phil. Number one, the one thing I would say that I would not want, a good reason I wouldn't want the Chinese taking our data is because China's developing artificial intelligence, and they're developing at a rapid rate. If they develop, they're gonna, and it says this on Wikipedia, they're using TikTok to develop their AI. Okay, so they're using Americans to develop their AI, make it smarter and faster. They could kill our economy. They could kill so many jobs, so many industries because they are developing AI far faster than we are because they're using shit like TikTok.
Do you think Facebook's not using that themselves? Do you think Google's not doing that
No,
as
I know
well?
they're doing that. That's like when you use the thing to log in and you have to pick of all the tiles, like which has a car in it, stuff like that. But those are private companies. Are they giving it to the government? Maybe. But China's giving all
look how
this to
much
the
ties
government.
they have to the government, though. I mean, they're technically a private company on paper, but when they have all these contracts with the federal government, they're really a private company at that point.
But it's still going to the American government. That means our American AI would be better than the Chinese AI.
But I don't really trust either of them because you're going to get these corporations. I really don't trust our government, honestly.
I'd rather. Hey, look, the thing is, though, if we have AI that's superior than China's, we win in the end. We have control of our industries. If China has better AI, we're fucked. They're gonna.
Well, I've seen.
I mean, we're fucked regardless, honestly. But
yeah.
I mean, both
it's how
it's
fucked
like
you are.
You get a shit sandwich or you get like a turd burger, which is better. It's like the South Park thing. It was like a giant douche and like a shit sandwich. That's basically the difference between the Chinese, the deep state versus, what we have with China. Both of them are shit.
Yeah, but again, I don't want to be speaking Chinese. I want to stay our country to stay as our country. But going back to what Phil said with the after Trump, that's something kind of looking forward with all the stuff with China and all these other big problems we're facing with the courts. Trump can only do so much in 8 years. And I'm worried that once he's gone in 2024, I think a Democrat's going to get in. I think they're going to get in just on healthcare alone. And what are we going to do that we're all banned on all these platforms and we have all these courts rigged against us? Thankfully, it looks like Roger Stone might be getting off. Like he's gotten his sentence, I guess, shortened or something. Or whatever that was, where things were getting shortened to just 9 years. But I mean, Trump's going to pardon him anyway, so it's not a worry. But I see these people like Nick Fuentes on Twitter saying, I'm going to find a screenshot. They think that the way to get Trump to do something about social media censorship is to not vote for him, which I think is a stupid strategy because if he's not in there, there's going to be a Democrat in there making it far harder for anything to be done about this. And we're not going to have somebody in there that we can at least negotiate with to get something done. Nick Fuentes said, I'm not going to vote for Donald Trump, and I will actively encourage my followers not to vote for Donald Trump unless or until something is done about deplatforming on social media and other online payment processors. I get that's the hip thing to say now, but I think it's stupid because if you don't vote for him, you don't have a chance. If, let's say, he doesn't do something now, for whatever reason, you don't have a chance of actually getting anywhere with social media censorship.
Yeah, I think honestly the best thing to do would be instead of doing that, try to get them to deplatform Trump. That would probably be the single greatest thing that could happen because at that point, everybody, all the people who voted for Trump will realize what's going on. Like that'd be a much better strategy. Than to get people to, just not vote for him, because that will get him to win the office. And not only that, but he will go immediately and probably through executive order. And if not, he will get the Congress to go and vote to do something to limit social media's power. So I think, if you want to do he's not there'd be a lot of reasons why, Trump, if he lost, why he would have lost. And that would probably be a very small part. Because the Democrats, for the most part, they're not going to help that. Like the only one who really was against it, as a platform and spoke out about it was Tulsi Gabbard. And she's not going to be the nominee anyways.
Well, I think we should be focusing on getting the House back because I don't know the rules in any of this. I don't know the laws, but I would think if you need something permanent something permanent to be done about big tech censorship, you need a law passed through Congress, and you can't do that now. And if you don't vote for Trump, you definitely can't do that in the future. So we need to get Trump in, keep Trump in for 4 more years, get the House back, keep the Senate, and then you can start doing stuff. Because we had Paul Ryan there screwing things up. I think Trump was trying to work a deal with him that didn't work out, but I think this is counterintuitive to accelerate this in this way. The good way I think to accelerate it is to get big names banned like Shapiro, Crowder, Rogan, If you do something like that, I think that's a great way of accelerationism because we still have Trump in office. Something can get passed, hopefully, if we take back the House. But I think that should be the goal, is to get the House back, not to say, like, I'm not going to vote for you. I think that's counterintuitive.
No, I agree with that. Like, get people banned off of get big, like, right-wing people who are moderate, kicked off of social media, and that way people will raise a shitstorm. Like,
And get left
honestly,
people.
even with the Democrats, like the social media censorship, look at what happened with Tulsi. She was a Democrat and she was against that.
Yeah.
It is getting bipartisan support. I think something's going to happen soon with social media, whether it's broken up or whether they pass a law preventing this. I think that is going to happen in the near future.
I think when it does happen, it might be too late. It
could be.
Yeah.
But I think, I think Trump is probably going to do something in the next term, if he gets elected, where he will go against them because he won't have anything to worry about. I mean, not they really much to worry about now, but he'll have the power to do it. The problem is you get some of these Republicans out there, these conservatives, that don't see this as an issue. They don't see censorship as an issue. They see it's a free market. Let it be as it is. And you need to get those Republicans out.
Yeah.
And you get the sort of, the Trump style Republican who doesn't care as much for, bullshit like that and cares more about the practical fact of the matter, where these social media companies are conspiring with the Democratic National Convention to limit the range of right-wing supporters. They Twitter banned political advertisements, quote unquote, but I still saw like an ad on there for every town for gun safety. Tell me that's not a political organization. They probably won't allow Turning Point on there, and that's this 501c3 or whatever, CA.
Yeah, C3.
But they allow every town for gun safety, and they say it's not a political organization. That's bullshit. They're doing this on purpose because they don't want to provide both parties a platform. So they'll allow these Democrats to go through the cracks, but then they won't allow the NRA to advertise on their message. It's BS.
Yeah.
And I think people are I honestly do think there is a grassroots movement forming around this issue as more and more people get banned unfairly. Even honestly, this is probably one of the few bipartisan issues that still exist, like the power of big tech companies.
Yeah, because a lot of the Bernie bros think these tech companies are, a part of the elite, the rich, the billionaire class, oppressing citizens. They don't want them having this amount of power. Like, that's the one thing that Cambridge Analytica, even though I think that controversy is blown out of proportion, it got the left sort of anti-big tech. But you need to get them to realize that part of that is, when they ban Fuentes, Milo, all these people or whoever, it's going to come after your people next. Because if a Bernie bro style personality gets too popular, like Rogan, if he gets too popular, they're going to find a way to shut him down. So if Rogan were to get banned, that would be the best thing for getting actual change.
Yeah, I agree. Like, if Joe Rogan's kicked off, like, he is such a moderate. Like, honestly, he's like he supports Bernie Sanders. Like, if they get him kicked off, that would be great for the free speech movement.
Absolutely.
I think I like Joe Rogan, but I think he would cause actual change if they banned him.
Well, they actually banned. Oh God, I'm forgetting the actor's name. This is a pro-Trumper. Fuck, why am I forgetting it? He was in a lot of those action movies, and he just got on Twitter recently. Oh, crap. He came back. Why am I forgetting his name? Trump. Let me see if I can figure out. Trump supporter. Back on Twitter. James Woods. That's his name. James Woods. Yeah, he just came back recently. And, I mean, it was one of the few times when somebody who's been banned was actually able to come back. And it felt so great. Twitter felt alive again. And we need that so badly. I mean, just for the sake of fun, but obviously for elections, because all these people were so influential. And, it hurts their careers too, because if you want to sell a book, if you want to direct people to your website or direct people to other events you're doing or whatnot, it's so hard to do it without having a social media presence.
Well, now here's sort of another question. How would you regulate social media?
That's a good question. I would say that I think there's like antitrust laws and there's the Sherman Act and some of these other ones that supposedly prevent this stuff. I don't know the details on it, but I would make sure that they cannot discriminate against political opinions. And
Well,
I
how can
would
you actually enforce that?
That's tricky because they could argue some of these things are hate speech because they all have hate speech policies. That's what they did with Fuentes.
Yeah, so you'd have like, I don't know. I think almost the way you'd have to have this happen is like, like you would have to create a system. I don't know if like you have to make it almost like banking to that level of regulation. I think that's might be what we have to go and look into. Like,
Yeah.
where you might just have to go and like get rid of permanent bans, maybe, or like have a third party appeal system that is not done through Facebook itself or YouTube itself.
Well, what happens if you
Maybe.
make tech companies public utilities or public forums?
Yeah, I think that would probably be a good way to do that. I mean, the alternative would just be if like the state seizes like Facebook, but I don't think that would really be great.
No.
There'd be potential issues with that too. You get Democrat in there and then they can go and manipulate that. But I think, you'd almost have to make it so that like the only way you could get banned is if you do something like outright illegal.
Yeah.
Like you're uploading, like copyright content. Like I think that might be the best way for some of these big companies. Like have them make some agreement where the only way to be banned is like you're doing something blatantly illegal. You're uploading, child abuse. You're uploading malicious, like, content, like physically like illegal content. Not just offensive.
And
I think
I
that's
think as long as you keep in place where users can block and mute other users, I mean, technically the current system's fine, but obviously it's not working. But as long as you still have that in place, if somebody says, I don't want to see Gavin McGinnis's Twitter feed, well, you can just mute him or you can block him. That to me is perfectly fine.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that makes sense. Like I don't know what happened between like 2000 like 6 and like 2000 like 16, but that used to be how the internet worked. If you didn't like to see someone's content, you blocked them. Like even websites back then, they had block functionality.
And it's
now
like
it's
you
like,
don't
oh,
even
we
have
can't just block you.
and you don't even have to follow these people in the first place. That's the bigger joke.
Yeah. The problem is you have zero way to enforce such a law or whatever. Like, because I mean, really, all these programs are run by algorithm, and you could manipulate that any way you want. I mean,
yeah, but I know like with Twitter, when they do some of these bigger bans, the algorithm might pick it up, but they send it to Jack Dorsey or whoever's around him, and then a human looks at it and analyzes whether it violates their policies. Like as long as you have those two-step sort of verification there, I think it can work.
Well, I think honestly, another option would be to go and remove lifetime, like permanent bans. Like unless you post something like
Illegal.
super, super like illegal, even then too, it's like.
Well, what about think of like
social,
ISIS accounts? Shouldn't they be permanently banned?
Yeah, like stuff like that, but like maybe just throw those people in jail. But if they're from another country, just block. Like maybe just have countrywide blocks. That might be another thing because like. I think as time goes on, these websites and applications are going to be so integrated into our life that you could go and make an argument that, you're basically deprived of like it's almost, I don't want to sound like Bernie Sanders where it's like, oh, it's a human right. But, it's getting to that point where like everything's so interconnected. Like a lot of these things, like especially with like banking, you want to talk about that where like payment processors, I must feel that, if like those things should be even more heavily regulated.
Yeah.
And like if you're gonna have these interactions with other apps, like to go and use certain websites, you need a Facebook account.
Yeah.
Like honestly, I think that stuff should just be banned. Like you should always have another option because some of these like back when I think Tinder was first around, you used to have a Facebook account with it.
That's true.
And I feel like that should almost be illegal to do something like that.
And I think if
that.
like you're saying, I think because this is what a lot of these libertarian types especially just don't seem to understand, is that Facebook and Twitter came in at a time and have grown so huge that that the network effect starts taking in place, where once you have all these big names on here and they're all interconnected on here, and they all, Twitter is such like Twitter alone, I just want to, we can ignore Facebook and just look at Twitter. Everything Trump says, people get from Twitter. They don't get from any other source. So Twitter has become this sort of official public forum for people to say stuff. And when you get banned from that, you're not in that sort of public space to say stuff. And I don't want to say it's like, not letting you have a website, but it's getting to that degree where you just, it's such an inhibiting, thing to have a ban on you. It just is, you're not in the same playing field as everybody else.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Like, especially if you're looking for a job, it could affect your employment prospects. Because if you don't have a social media company, some employers might think, they might go and look negatively upon that.
Yeah.
And I feel that, I think if, they're going to have bans, but I think they should not, like, unless you do something seriously egregious. And even then, it's like that should be done through the legal system, where you'll be put into jail, and then like maybe have that part of your like probation, or like if there's an actual pedophile, and they posted completely illegal content on some website, on like Facebook or something, that'll be the government like requiring you not to go and use that at that point. I feel that it is almost to the point where it is almost like you can make an argument.
Yeah.
Where you should have some right to use this stuff. Like if you do something, something stupid on Facebook, and then you get banned, you should have a certain, like maybe have like a year ban, maybe like 2-year ban or something, but not lifetime.
Well, I think the other thing is crazy is that, I'm not saying this the way it should be, but it's just a thought. For example, if you break the terms of services on your one account, let's say you're using, and they ban you, you should be allowed, I think, to create another account. And then, you kind of learned your lesson, you lost all your followers, and now you have to build it back up. So that's almost kind of a nice slap on the wrist. If this is how people want to run it this way, I'm not saying it should be, but if you want to discourage certain behavior without full-on banning people forever, let them make another account and have to rebuild their followers. That's a way you could do it.
Yeah, well, the thing is, there'll be certain accounts on there that'll like post malicious or illegal content, and then they'll just make new accounts.
Well, I think with that sort of stuff, yeah. But if you just get banned for some of these more minor things like hate speech, whatever, things they don't like, these more things that aren't like just egregious illegal stuff, like posting pornography, child pornography, or posting, a rape video or something like that, and not in like a news context. But if you're doing something super egregious, I can understand like permanently banning that person from creating another account. But if you're doing something that is like harassment or something like that, I think there can be a second chance if that's a system you want to use. I think the better system is just, you got to have some sort of government oversight on these things, that, because these things are so important for people building their careers, building their lives, and surviving now, and it's so interconnected, you can't ban people forever like this.
Yeah, I'd just say ban, like get rid of the permanent ban process. Like, here's my thing, like, I'd have like, maybe a country ban. Like if you're an ISIS fighter and you're in another country, just ban that person like country-wise. If they come into the U.S. and they want to go and post, they have to go to a fucking police office and get removed by the government. At which point they'll be promptly arrested, and then once they'll go sent to jail. And then once they get out of jail, they can post shit again. Something like that.
The other thing too, I know we've kind of already said this, but I think it's important to emphasize, is that especially when you're banning political figures, elections are more or less going to be won not just through the traditional means like door knocking, phone banking, all that jazz, but social media. And if these tech companies are saying influential voices for this candidate and that candidate can't be on this platform, you are altering elections. You are influencing elections. And of course, we're all trying to influence elections all the time, but you're putting so much power in it that you're letting a few people decide elections, basically. And that's not fair.
Well, yeah, they complain about, the Russian meddling in elections, but honestly, I'm more worried about Silicon Valley meddling
Same.
because they do it
Yeah.
every day. Like, I see that happen all the time. And they only got offended because it was for the party they didn't like. Because you see all the time, like Britain was actively meddling in our elections. All these British actors, the MI6 or whatever, MI5 agent who posted the dossier, who helped create that. That's British meddling. Why isn't that a mainstream thing? It's because they have actively removed the right wing from the media, and they prevent them from gaining access to it via the social media. And that's what happened. Like the left, they kind of won TV. The right kind of has radio, and now like the internet's at least back when Trump was elected, it was pretty it was a pretty equal playing field. And after that, they realized that they had to change that. And that's where I have a problem.
And the thing, too, is, I'm thinking you mentioned radio. I think Rush Limbaugh is still going to be around for a little bit, despite this tragic cancer he has. But he's eventually going to go, sadly. And when Rush goes, I know there's a lot of conservatives still on the radio. I get that. But he has the biggest radio show in the entire country. When he goes, and his audience, which tends to be older people, goes, radio's not going to be dominated by conservatives anymore. I don't think. I think it's...
No, yeah, I've listened to AM radio. There's a lot of conservatives on there. The bigger problem with the radio is just it's a dying medium.
But that's what I mean, is that when all the old people are gone and our generation is older, we're on the internet all the time. So I think a lot of conservative voices are going to have to build their own websites and I don't want to say their own platforms, but we're going to have to kind of find our own space on the internet that we can't, or at least it's hard to ban us on. And it'd be nice if we could kind of all be on one platform, but I doubt that's going to happen. But, it's going to be tricky.
Well, if the government can regulate the airwaves, like, with radio, with the FCC, I just don't see why they can't apply that to a certain extent with the internet.
Yeah.
Like I know there was a big thing about like Trump removing what was that regulation with Ajit Pai, I think.
Oh, the crap was
net neutrality.
Yeah, net neutrality.
But the thing is, the net neutrality was never actually, it didn't enforce what people think it enforced. Like honestly, we should have a different version, like call it net neutrality just so that it has like net neutrality 2.0. But it will actually force, social media companies to be neutral or face legal action if they go and host copyright content on there.
See, I love how a lot of these lefties that were circle jerking over net neutrality because it's something they love for some reason. But they're perfectly fine with Twitter banning all these people. Perfectly fine with YouTube and Google and Facebook banning Alex Jones, all these people they don't like. But we want net neutrality. No, you don't.
Yeah, they want, left-wing neutrality. That's all they care about. They don't give a crap about you or me. They care about their political goal. They care about their political party, and they want dominance. And the right needs to start getting at this. Because that's going to be the most important thing in the future. This will decide the next, possibly 100 elections, unless someone creates like this decentralized internet, which I've heard there's people working on that, like almost like an internet 2.0, where like it's complete, like almost like the Tor network, but just for other content. Like I think there are some projects in the works for that, and that would be interesting. But it's just going to have the same stuff happen again in a different cycle. We just
when I was researching websites for like our Uncensored America stuff, I found that you can sort of self-host. So theoretically, I think a conservative can, like let's say Alex Jones, I think he could self-host his own website, Infowars.com, and they can't take that from him. I mean, maybe they could take the domain, but I don't know.
the ISP, I guess, could take action at that point.
Yeah, that's true. And I think, see,
Like,
that's
that's
something where you would enforce some sort of quote unquote net neutrality so that an ISP just can't take you off the internet like that. I think the ISPs should become, if they aren't, I don't know what they're defined as right now, but those should become public utilities. I mean, I think that's something
well,
everyone
it's
can
not
agree
even
on.
just that. It's like the what was it? The domain. Like they have
The domains.
these, like when you have the domain name registrars, they also
Yeah.
could go and just say we're not going to recognize your name.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah, I think
Like,
that would
and
have to be
that's
considered public utility too.
yeah, and then I think payment processors. That's another big thing too. It's
Yeah.
like they should be required to be politically neutral and neutral on anything that is legal for an American to go and partake in.
That should absolutely happen.
Yeah.
Like financial companies should not do anything like anything political, anything of anything. They need to be neutral because you're financial. No, they shouldn't care. They shouldn't care.
As long as you're not like committing like fraud or money laundering, it should be they shouldn't give a shit about that. Like I've heard like Zelle does this, PayPal does this, Venmo does this, where they do not allow like firearms.
Yeah.
They do not allow you to go and use that to go and purchase firearms, and that should be you should be able to go and use whatever if it's guaranteed by the Second Amendment, so you should be allowed to go and purchase that with Zelle or PayPal or Venmo.
Yeah.
I don't see how that's legal for them to forbid that activity.
Yeah, that's
like,
one of
it's
those.
not even just them either. It's like I think even credit cards are starting to get involved. Like Visa, like I don't think they allow people to go and donate to like. I think that's how that one service died. They had another service and they got basically blacklisted from like MasterCard or Visa or something like that. I think it was like bank or there was the other ones. They have 3 big credit card companies like Visa, MasterCard, and like American Express. I think it was like MasterCard. They like fucked over some like right-wing website.
Oh yeah, and that's one of those things I believe that it's your money. You should be allowed to do whatever the hell you want with it, as long as it's not an illegal activity like money laundering or something like that. But yeah, everything else should be free reign. I mean, that to me is something pretty crazy that you can deny people a payment processing service. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's not like people aren't like committing fraud anyway. It's like people still do it even with these platforms, but they will not allow a completely above board like legal enterprise to make money.
Yeah.
Because it's against their politics. Like there's a bunch of bank companies closing and they stopped funding, like they stopped allowing the NRA to do business with them. They stopped like for gun manufacturers. Like somewhat like Trump honestly needs to be worried about that. That's pretty up there with importance because it's just like evil tree really. It's all these roots that kind of go to the same issue. Like this like left-wing dominance. We've allowed these companies to go and take political stands where I think they should not be allowed to make political stands. Like we're talking about earlier the ice cream companies. I don't care as much about that because you can always buy another brand. But when your banks, there's 3 credit card companies that are accepted, like Visa, MasterCard, American Express. If all of them just decide, hey, we're not going to go online and use these to purchase guns, that's going to be severely hampering, especially as, the country's starting to make a move towards a cashless society.
Yeah. Well,
that's my biggest scare with the cashless society is these companies are going to have even more power, and there's not enough regulations in place to prevent this activity.
Yeah. Well, as Trump's second term comes up soon, there have been some people that think he's not going to do much. He's just going to be sort of coasting free. This is why I tend to think, especially if he gets the House, I think he could go just all in and start doing everything because he doesn't have to worry about getting reelected. He doesn't have to worry about anything. I don't want to say he can do whatever he wants because obviously he literally can't. But I think you could finally see some sweeping changes on some things if he gets control of all 3 branches of government.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely will happen. He can, hopefully get some of these, like some of his supporters, like who've been thrown in jail through leftist judges, like the Proud Boys and stuff, get their, whatever, like if they had any federal charges, get those removed. He could get Roger Stone out.
Mm-hmm.
He could definitely take some action against these big tech companies. And I think if you get Democrat they're probably not going to give a shit, or at worst,
They're
going
gonna
to
make it worse.
Yeah, yeah, they're going to go and like basically make hate speech laws nationwide potentially.
Yeah.
And once that happens, good luck. Once they have the left define what hate speech is, you're creating a whole load of other issues, and that's what really scares me. It's like we're living in such thin ice right now. Like, one bad election, if we lose both houses, like your Second Amendment could be gone, your First Amendment could be, gone, your Fourth Amendment could be gone. It's really scary.
Well, thankfully,
Really worries
we
me.
have conservative majority in the Supreme Court that if a case gets brought up to them, it gets overturned and they do a ruling. Because I keep telling people people don't think these justices are that important in the Supreme Court. No, this is vital. That if we do lose an election, which we probably will next few cycles, we will still have some sort of reassurance with the Supreme Court to hold things off till we get back in power.
Yeah, I feel that way. I mean, especially.
Well, if there's a Democratic president and then the Democrats were to somehow take control of the Senate, even though that's probably realistically unlikely long term, but if that happens, then they've already said they'll stack the fucking Supreme Court.
Yeah, but we
They'll
already
just
have, Gorsuch's and
They don't
Gorsuch and
care.
Kavanaugh.
They'll add seats. They will add seats
They
because there's no
could.
regulation.
Well,
There's no regulation saying they can't. A couple politicians have already entertained that idea. And I'm telling you, if that happens, it will be pushed.
What
Yeah,
is the
that's
process
the
to get
thing.
that? I mean, I wonder if that's something that requires, a very
They'll go the nuclear option. They'll do the majority.
If they have a supermajority in both houses, then we're really, then they could.
Yeah.
Even a majority in both houses, they could probably do it.
See, that's
And
an
that's what would
interesting
be really
thing.
scary.
Yeah, that would be scary actually. I forgot about that shit. Let's see, adding Supreme.
Like I think FDR tried, like he threatened to do. That's what prevented. Like they just were like, okay, yeah, that's fine. Like someone changed their shit. Like they stopped. The president basically, FDR basically blackmailed the Supreme Court at that point. And like a lot of the people on the left are like, oh, he's the best president. Even people on the right will go and defend him. But honestly, he did a lot of really terrible things, like that. I don't know why people aren't talking about it. Like not even just the internment camps, but he did like basically blackmailing the court. Some like he started accruing debt that we still haven't paid off, like through some of these programs. And honestly, the only thing that really ended the depression, like he probably made the depression work, just throwing more spending on it to go and make it look good to get people employed. But you're just feeding him more money, so that he took us off the gold currency. And I think having us not on some sort of realistic currency, that's going to make us open for hyperinflation at some point in the future. If we have a bad economic downturn, they just keep printing out more money.
Maybe
we're on borrowed time.
This is something Marco Rubio has proposed, and maybe Trump should try to do this before he's gone, which is have an amendment to limit Supreme Court justices or keep it at 9.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea, but I don't know
you would have to make it an amendment.
Well, that's what I just said, an amendment.
Yeah, you're not going to get that's not going to pass.
Why not?
Because
it's very hard to get an amendment passed. You have to get all 50 states, I think.
No, you don't need 50. I think you need a supermajority of states.
No, you need a supermajority in Congress, which you won't get. And it would be dead on arrival.
You need 2/3 of House and Senate and 3/4 of states.
Dead on arrival.
Yeah, you would. I doubt that would only something super the only one that they ever had, I think in recent memory, amendments they had. There were just a bunch of bullshit, but something politically charged like that would not go very well. You don't know how hard it was to get prohibition repealed. Like that was pretty crazy how that even happened. Like I'm surprised it actually did get repealed because it's so hard. Like things were different back then, and that was during the Depression.
I'm sure there was a whole lot of dirty shit that was going on behind the scenes with that one.
Oh yeah, like the people did not want prohibition. Like that was the issue, but it still took a long time, like a while for that to get repealed, just because of the amount of checks and balances in place. Which that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Amendments should not be easy to make, and they should not be easy to repeal, or else that could apply to any of the amendments. They could apply at first, second, fourth.
Well, I wonder what would happen. Let's say worst case scenario, some Democrat gets in and adds a 10th Supreme Court justice or 11th or whatever. When the Republican gets back in, they're going to add more too, probably. Like it could be a really endless cycle.
Yeah, just more of our money go into that bullshit. Like that's the scariest thing. Like the Supreme Court, they have a lot of power. And that's, I think, I don't know if it's Thomas Jefferson or it was someone who, like, you mentioned that when they were writing some papers. Like, that's a really scary thing. But thankfully, they're, they only do so much. They only do so much right now. But they are really our last sort of safeguard as it.
Yeah.
And if that gets changed, that'll be very scary.
Yeah, that's something that I don't know if they would do it. I don't know. It could piss a lot of people off. Because here's the thing that they also think.
Here's the thing. I don't think they really care. They just want to appeal to themselves.
Well, I think they care in the sense that I think they do, in some cases, realize that if they do certain things that piss a lot of people off, they're going to be out. They're going to be outnumbered next election cycle. But that's also why they pass this immigration shit to get more illegals in, to keep the illegals here, to get them to vote, so they can just outnumber the voters. That's the next thing they do, is to go, well, we can do whatever we want, not only in, when we're in power, but when we're not, or when we have left, we'll have more voters and it won't matter in the end.
Well, yeah, that's the same thing with like ever since they added like social, like SSI. You basically, government is bribing you to go and vote Democrat. Like with the welfare state, it's just so bad. It's what kills democracies when you get to that point. And that's my sort of criticism of democracies. We've gone to the point where you have one side literally paying people, and saying, hey, you vote for us, we're going to increase your benefits, we're going to allow you to go and have your friends come over and your family. Expedite them, allow as many of them as you want. It's un-American what they're doing. I don't really, and the way they're doing it's just wrong. It's like morally repugnant, because this is America. When you start having mass migration, when you start paying people, and on the basis that they're going to go and vote for you if you start giving them what they want, like that. It's what's going to end up killing the country, possibly. If they just keep allowing this behavior to go on. Why would people vote for someone that wants to take away their benefits? Why would they vote for someone who does not want immigration?
Yeah.
It puts us in such a bad position, and eventually, and it's just going to be like, here's what I want right now. I think everyone. Free car, they'll go and vote on that. Like, oh, why would I vote for Bob, the the fiscal conservative? Why could I go vote for Larry, who promises me everyone a new car?
Yeah.
And how are we going to pay for it? We're going to print out more money. When has that ever been a bad thing?
Yeah.
By the time that they realize that, and honestly, a lot of this stuff wouldn't be possible if we didn't have if it was back in the day and $1 was worth a certain amount of gold, you were very limited in what you could do, because you physically just couldn't print money, and people just wouldn't accept that. So that was kind of the natural prevention of these things, and that's something that FDR screwed up. He detached the U.S. from hard currency, from actual meaningful fiat money. Now we're just it's not worth anything. $1 is worth it's worth. It has this like esoteric value to it.
Well, speaking of all these Democrats, we after our last show, the New Hampshire primaries happened, and Bernie won. And I think now in the delegate count, he's one behind Pete Buttigieg. And Pete Buttigieg did decently in New Hampshire. Klobuchar had the biggest rise, and Biden was the biggest loser, 0 delegates. And since then, Bloomberg has been going up in some polls, supposedly. I question that. But Bloomberg has also had his issues because now he's a racist, apparently, because there have been tapes coming out of him talking about minorities committing more crimes and him putting more cops in minority areas because he said they commit more crimes, something along those lines. At least that's how people are seeing it. And the thing is, what Bloomberg is saying in some of those tapes is something you'll hear other people say. But when he says it, it looks bad on him. And the crazy thing is, some other people have said this too. I was watching CNN here in the hub for a second here. I was walking by or waiting for somebody. CNN was talking about how Bloomberg is a racist. And right after that, it goes to commercials. And what comes on? A Mike Bloomberg ad with him and Obama being buddies. And it's like, oh, yeah, look at me. I'm not racist. I'm with the black president. You know? So you had a total... and I think that's a smart ad. I mean, it's not... Is it going to win people back over? Maybe, maybe not. But it's a good way to show, like, hey, Mike Bloomberg, that you saw this negative stuff, but here's Mike Bloomberg with a black president, working with a black president. It's kind of interesting to see that he's dominated and changed the total political ad system over, unlike really Trump either. Because Trump, yeah, he had money, but he was spending it more on social media and other things. But Bloomberg has bought so much airtime with so much money before he's even really in the race. Like, yeah, he's in it right now, but he's not on the debate stage. He's not on the ballots. He's not on any of these things. But it's interesting to see how him play out because I think Biden's dropping like fucking just to the bottom. He's doing terrible. I think Biden might have to drop out. If he doesn't do good in South Carolina, I know Phil and I were talking about this a few days ago. If he, doesn't get in like first, second in South Carolina, he's done. He's gonna have to drop out. So Bloomberg might be the replacement for that, and all Biden votes might go to Bloomberg. But Bloomberg is everything these people hate. He is Trump, but he's racist. He's old. He's white. He's a billionaire. That's what these people see in him. I don't see him getting the nomination if they prop him up. I mean, he does have money, but money's overrated, especially now. I think the Bernie bros might have a shot for once, but the superdelegates might screw him over. So I don't know.
I think Buttigieg probably right now it seems like he has a good chance of winning. How's Warren doing? I think she's doing terrible. She's probably gonna have to drop out soon. And when she drops out, all her votes go to Bernie. Yeah, that could. I don't know. I'm thinking. I just don't see them allowing Bernie to win. I do not see Bloomberg winning. He'll piss off so many people, and if he wins, it'll be worse than Hillary.
Oh yeah. Well,
it will be worse than, and like I heard that was his running, like his vice president's gonna be Hillary Clinton.
It's not gonna happen.
Like
that is not gonna happen.
It's gonna be so bad. So bad.
Well, yeah. Did you see he's paying people like I think it's $150 to $250 to make him cool on social media? To make memes of him. Did you see that?
Yeah, I heard of that. Like that's he's literally everything that the Sanders campaign despises.
Yeah. Like
everything that they're running against. I do not see the Democrats, like especially with the racism stuff. I don't think he's going to do too well. Like you mentioned, like the Biden vote's going to him. Like a lot of that's going to be the black vote, and I doubt they're going to be voting for Bloomberg.
I don't think most of the black vote's going to go to him, actually.
Yeah, like they're not going to. Well, they're definitely not going to go to Bloomberg.
Yeah. I mean, Bernie's not doing good with the blacks either, but I think Bernie has a better chance of getting those votes. Or they just stay home like they did in 2016.
I think that's what might happen because honestly, I don't really see any sort of minority there's really no minority candidates anymore.
No.
Like I think you might be able to go make, you could go and say something about like Tulsi Gabbard because wasn't she part something or like a Native American?
She's part Indian, like Indian, Indian, not Native American Indian.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess technically you have Warren, but that's bullshit. 1096 like Cherokee or something.
Yeah.
But there's really nothing. I think no one really reaching out to these people.
Now, if I have this correct, because I was saying this wasn't going to happen before, but I should have understood this a little better before saying it. A broker convention is when no candidate has enough delegates to have
the cutoff score. Yeah.
Yeah.
When broker convention, that's when no candidate has the required delegates to be the nominee.
Yes.
And then it goes to a broker, and I guess they do some sort. It's weird. It's really fucking weird.
Yeah. Do you guys think that's going to happen at this point? Because we have
probably.
538.
I don't see them rallying behind anybody.
Well, we have it on 538, which
Bernie
was
does something really big. I don't see anyone he alienates a lot of people.
He does, but I'm looking at 538 right now, which again was inaccurate in 2016, but just for the sake of it, they're showing for the latest odds based on polls and other things. They have Sanders 1 in 3rd chance, so he's at 36%. Biden 13%, Bloomberg 7%. No one getting a nomination at 38%. So it's most likely nobody's going to get the nomination, which I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to say that's definitely what's going to happen, but I think that's definitely possible.
Well, someone's going to get the nomination.
Well, they're saying...
What's Buttigieg at?
Let me check. I just closed out of it. When they're talking about, though, when they say no one, they mean not like Phil's just described, where they're not going to have enough delegates to get the nomination and would have to move to broker convention. Buttigieg is at 4%.
If a broker convention happens, Bernie's definitely getting hosed.
Yeah, he's fucked.
It's guaranteed. Guaranteed.
And here's the thing. If they don't give it to Bernie, who, let's say he has the most delegates but doesn't have enough for the nomination, and they don't give it to him, you are going to piss off his voters so much. They're going to feel so cheated that they're either not going to vote, they're going to write him in, or they're going to vote for Trump just to say fuck you to the DNC. Mm-hmm. That is a disaster for them. Absolute disaster. And even if he does get the nomination, that's still a disaster for them. I mean, you think about it, they have such a shitty situation, and all their people on TV like Chris Matthews and a bunch of other ones are like, these candidates suck, guys. Like, we need somebody. We're not happy with what we have. We're not happy with our choices.
Yeah, they're pretty much all shit. Because, Bernie Sanders, he's pretty geriatric right now. He had a heart attack already. That is, not a very good look if you have a candidate before he's even president. Like, good lord. Like, a lot of people don't think about that. When you're president, your stress level goes up a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a problem. Like, Biden also, he's getting up there. Like, he's almost senile. Like, we talked about before. He's done some, like, really just off-the-wall shit. And that's not a good look.
And people thought 2016 was crazy. Ooh, this is getting crazy for the Democrats. I think it might go to a broker convention. It might, but I'm not.
Well, who do you think will win in the broker convention?
Bloomberg. They'd give it to Bloomberg. He would literally buy it.
He'll buy it. He'll buy it.
Yeah, he'll buy it.
Bloomberg will buy it.
Yep.
I don't know if he'll make it up to that point. Like, don't they have to?
He'll make a deal. He'll make some serious drug deals with the other with the other delegates, like the other candidate delegates.
I think there's a good chance Buttigieg could end up getting it. I think just looking at it now, it's pretty much going to be between him and Bernie from scenes. And if Bernie doesn't get, like, if he goes to broker convention, I think he'll end up getting it from there, because I don't think they will want to, like, I think the deep DNC probably wants Bloomberg.
They're going to want Buttigieg. The DNC is going to want Bloomberg, or no, they're going to want Buttigieg. But I think Bloomberg. I think his money is too powerful. Like he'll find a way. He'll find a way to make it happen.
I would think they would realize that's a bad idea.
Look, yeah, but you gotta look. The Democrats are the most corrupt in the world. Like, they're the most corrupt people in the fucking world. Like, money runs everything. Like it does. And there's nobody that has even close to the money that Bloomberg has. Like that puts him at a gross advantage over everybody else.
I mean, if Bloomberg wins, like I do not think it's going to go well for them. 'Cause,
No.
No, I
That'd
mean,
be terrible.
honestly, I don't see it going well for him anyway. Because
Yeah,
you look
same.
at it. Well, you look at it. Okay, so if Bernie wins, you really think a socialist is going to beat Donald Trump?
No.
No. Okay, so you put Warren against Trump. Trump would have a field day. That would be a field day election. You want Bloomberg? If Bloomberg goes, no. Trump would have a field day against him as well. Like there's nothing. There's literally nothing that's gonna stop Trump.
Yeah.
Like unless he self implodes or
Yeah.
has a heart attack between now and
Or there's like
whatever.
another great recession, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's what I see.
I think,
Is nobody they're going to
you
put
know,
up is
how
going to have a
would it be-
chance.
What do you think that chance of like Buttigieg winning? 'Cause I think, you know, he not the election, but like even the nomination. So I
Right.
think like he's still, you know, he's doing pretty well too.
He is. And the DNC will, like, they're gonna push him. Like he's gonna be the candidate that the DNC is gonna push. Like as far as the DNC goes. But again, like Bloomberg has money, right? And he could basically dwarf the DNC like at will. And I think that will, if there's a broker convention, I think that money will play its role.
I think Buttigieg is very, you know, they keep saying, this is the funniest thing. They always keep like saying, oh, he's the moderate here. The dude wants to fucking legalize all drugs among a bunch of other policies he has. He's very not moderate, but I think he's,
you know, there's the elephant in the room. You know, are people going to vote
for somebody that's
a
gay?
gay candidate?
I
Like,
can
you
tell
think
you
that's
already that Rush Limbaugh was talking about this, and they kind of twisted his comments because Rush wasn't saying that he doesn't want a gay to be, you know, nominated or anything. He wasn't saying that. He was literally saying, this is his words, was something along the lines of America's not ready for a gay president. And that's not to say Americans hate gays or anything like that, but, you know, I think there is some truth to that. I think there are some people in this country that just don't want to vote for somebody to become president because of their sexual orientation. Does that mean they're bad people or anything? No, I think a lot of people have this belief, I've heard it before, that there is something about a president or leader having kids that makes them feel better about them being in office. And what I mean by that is it makes it, they seem to feel that that person has some skin in the game, you know, that their kids are going to have a future here. And, you know, you learn stuff from having kids, from having them, raising them, all that jazz. And I don't think even Buttigieg has adopted kids, has he?
No, I think he was talking about having a kid with his like husband or something via surrogacy.
So that's something I
Like
think
in a
people look at, is that they don't see this guy has kids, doesn't have skin in the game. But you see somebody like Trump, who literally kind of, you know, made his decision to run because he had Barron starting to get a little older, and he thought, you know what? I have a position where I can fix this country, and I don't want my son to grow up in a shithole. I want him to grow up in a nice country and everybody else to grow up in a nice country and everybody else to be happy. So I think that's where that sentiment can be coming from. But you look at his numbers among African Americans and other minorities, Buttigieg is doing terrible, absolutely terrible. So I don't think he can get the nomination with those pitiful numbers.
I don't think Bloomberg's going to do any better. Like, honestly, some of the stuff he said will probably be worse. Like, the stuff he said and the stuff he's done, that will alienate them even more.
Well, that's where I think you have a lot of minorities just not coming out to vote. You're going to have an overall low turnout and the votes being split. So you can have, and this is where I think that broker convention thing is very possible, because you can have a good chunk of votes going to Bernie. We're going to throw just random numbers, like 15% to Bernie, you know, like 14% to Bloomberg, 13% to Buttigieg in like one state. But in other states, those names and numbers will all be flipped around, and you're going to get candidates winning states that they normally wouldn't. and they don't have a majority, but they're going to have a plurality because of just how the makeup of these states go. And so that's where I think this is going to go. I think you're going to have some people that are really close in the end, and just somebody's going to get the majority of delegates, but probably not enough to get the nomination.
Yeah, no, like I'm definitely seeing a brokered convention because like no one's really standing out right now.
Exactly. You don't have, and you don't have also somebody that's from nowhere like Obama coming in that just swoops it up.
Well, okay, so look, let's be real. One of the real reasons that he won the election was because George Bush's second term was probably the worst presidential term in American history, and two, John McCain was just terrible, an awful fucking candidate, like awful, like that was you couldn't have picked, like between those two things, you just basically pushed Obama into the Oval Office.
Yeah, and then you had Romney running against him after that.
So. And then Romney was just as shit as McCain.
Yeah,
like no,
Romney too. Yet another thing is like he was the first, I think, Mormon candidate.
Yeah, you think anybody? Yeah, like they'll vote for a Mormon before they vote for. Well, I don't know.
Also, you gotta keep in mind though.
I think, and let's be okay. I'm already going to the real meter here. The Democrats are as hateful, if not more, than the Republicans. They are. Like you're talking about a gay candidate. Oh, they're going to push him, but deep down inside, do they want him? Do they really? I don't know.
Here's the thing.
There's going to be people in the establishment. There's going to be people in the establishment. They're like, fuck no, we don't want this guy.
I think, and I was saying this a few days ago, is that Republicans are more open, even though the media will make you think otherwise. I think Republicans are way more open to selecting any candidate. They look at more the qualifications, the policies. They can look past anything else. They can look past even like bad things they've done in their personal life, but this guy's qualified in X, Y, and Z and has amazing abilities and amazing experience, amazing policies like Trump. They'll vote for that person. They'll vote for women, they'll vote for anyone, whatever. But Democrats, for some reason, their voters especially, the identity just comes right into the forefront of everything. And if you don't believe me, just think of how many people said, I want to vote for the first black president. I want to vote for the first woman president. I'm voting for Hillary because she's a woman. I want her to break the glass ceiling. I don't care. I'm sorry. If a woman became president, that's cool. A gay became president, cool, whatever. I just want them to do the job. It's like when you hire a plumber, you hire a lawyer. You just want the best fucking lawyer, the best fucking plumber. I don't care about anything else, honestly. It's the same thing with a president, And I think that's how Republicans have a different way of viewing things. But Democrats start looking things through identities. Like that's like AOC, for example. I think
that is a very I don't know. I know some Republicans, like probably a lot of Republicans.
Well, some religious ones.
There still are certain Republicans who I feel if there was a gay Republican out there, they probably would not go out and vote.
I think that's the religious ones because you've seen people.
That is true. The evangelical vote is huge.
It's huge,
in the Republican Party.
Yeah,
and that's probably why one of the reasons why Romney probably did pretty shit, honestly, because they're like, why would they vote for? When you start looking into what a more, a lot of them just see it as, it's just a weird religion that's, not Christian. Like they. Like actually, like I watched the Book of Mormon. That's not exactly a,
not the fairest shake,
an actual historical document.
Yeah.
But they do kind of show some of the beliefs that they have, and when you see like an evangelical, see that they're like, okay, that's not Christian.
Yeah.
There was people. If there was a Muslim president that was on the Republican side, they would not vote for. Probably a good portion of them too.
Yeah, I think honestly, yeah, you are right. Like if the Republicans were push a gay candidate, for example, it would be hard trying to convince those evangelicals. And that's why even Trump, let's remember this too, even Trump, who calls himself a Christian, had trouble getting evangelical votes. Ted Cruz won Iowa and won a huge number of evangelical votes. And so Trump had to bring in Pence, who's a hardcore Christian conservative, to kind of bring those votes in. And that's the tricky balance you have on the GOP side. But I don't know if I totally back what I'm about to say, but I think it's easier
I heard
the Republican side to bring these people in more than on the Democratic side.
See, I heard that Mike Pence wasn't Donald Trump's first choice.
Really?
I heard that he wasn't his first choice, but the family, like Donald Trump Jr., Ivanka, and all them, they were like, yeah,
They pushed him.
You're going to need somebody. I think he wanted somebody kind of like himself, but like the family kind of the like he relies a lot on his family for advice and whatever.
Honestly, I think Pence was a great decision for vice
No,
president.
I'm saying I liked it. It was a great decision. I'm saying it probably wasn't his first choice, and then the family kind of reeled him. Like, see, this is another reason why Trump is part as successful as he is, because he has family. He has his family. Like Don Jr., Ivanka, they're all really super intelligent people. Jared Kushner, all of them super intelligent, super successful outside of politics. And this is like, when you have a brain trust like that, like it puts you at a huge advantage. Whereas, and I feel like, and this is another thing, Donald Trump Jr., if you're listening to this podcast, please run in 2024.
Yeah.
Please run in 2024. I am begging you. Begging.
I think
Hands
he
and knees.
might need a little more XP in his background to run.
Oh, you mean
but
like Donald Trump did?
No, I think those aren't
Probably
comparable.
running in like a Senate or something, honestly, like in some state, like getting some experience there, and then like maybe in like a few years coming into the fray that way.
Well, because
Donald Trump just proved you don't need that shit to be successful.
not necessarily. Because I think Trump
was, he had recognition. Like,
yes.
No one really knew of Don Jr. before Trump.
He literally has Trump as his last name.
I know, but
right out of the gate, he's got name recognition.
He does now.
Like I think Donald Trump Jr. Trump Jr. He's great, but I think that he, like his dad. His dad was in movies. His dad was, he had a TV show. He had all this stuff, and if it wasn't for that, he would not have won the nomination.
I agree, actually, because
Donald
Trump,
it would matter.
Trump Jr. doesn't have any of that. I think his best bet would be to go for a Senate position or a Congress position, like in the House of Representatives somewhere, get some experience. Because he'd be like Ted, like someone like a Ted Cruz, I
think he's trying to run for an office in fucking New York, which will never happen.
We talked about that he was thinking of running for mayor of New York City.
Never fucking happened.
I don't know. De Blasio's doing so bad. I mean, you had Giuliani in there not that long ago. I think, and what Alex is bringing up a good point, which is that Donald Trump Sr., the father, was such a part of American culture, already embedded. Everybody kind of knew who he was, and he built this success. He built the success of Trump Tower, of The Apprentice, his book. Don Jr. hasn't done that. Don Jr., and I'm not knocking him when I say this because I do love Don Jr., but Don Jr. does not have the exact same, at the same level, because he is younger too, skill set as Trump, and he doesn't have all that success personally built. Jr. kind of, I don't want to say he inherited it all. I mean, some of it he did. Like, that's just a fact of it because he was born as Trump's son. But if he had something of his own that he personally really developed, he would have maybe more of a shot. But that's why I think he needs some sort of experience like a mayor or a governor or a senator or something like that to sort of give a little, it makes him feel a bit more legit, if you know what I mean. And he does have the name recognition now, but he needs a bit more. I can tell he is looking in that direction. I think he very much is, and I hope he runs at some point. I hope Matt Gaetz runs at some point. But I'm Googling, and it looks like, according to a bunch of articles, Trump claimed Pence was his first choice, and Trump claims that somebody
Of
about to
course
come
he's
in
going
here.
to say he's his first choice.
I know, but
Of course he's going to say.
but-
He's never going to just admit, well, hey, Pence was my silver medal. No, he's never going to fucking admit that shit.
Yes, but there's more to it. Paul Manafort, according to some reports, said that Pence was his first choice. And there was only a few articles that said, like 1 or 2 articles that said that Pence was not the first choice. And I tried to read them and find where they were getting this from anything. It didn't really elaborate much. So take it for what you will. Trump may not even had anybody in mind at first. I don't know. And then when they gave him the list, he's like, oh, maybe Pence. I don't know. But did you see? I posted this article in the news section about Bloomberg, and apparently he has some quotes that are not so PC. Did you see that?
I'll take a look.
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, that's not so. I mean, to be fair, people back in those days, differently. But I mean, Democrats,
How are Democrats going to
they're
see
all
that?
about tearing down like statues, and for like if you did something in the past when something was more acceptable, you're kind of demonized to this day about it. So it's not surprising.
Yeah.
It's like what was it? The Virginia governor who blackface. They're hypocrites.
They
You
are.
can't trust them.
Who do you guys think will run in 2024? That's actually a good question.
I'm thinking there's a chance Pence could run.
I could see it too.
I think he's vice president, so I mean a lot of vice presidents go on to run and or become the president. So there's that. I don't know. Ted Cruz is starting to get old.
And he's
I don't know
too
if he'll run again.
conservative. He's too much to the right.
I think he'll run. I think he might run.
He might run, yeah.
Maybe you'll see like a Crenshaw or something.
You might. He's a little. Yeah, you might actually. Maybe by that time, you'd have enough XP and name recognition you could do it. I think though, yeah.
It's just so far out now. Like maybe Rubio again.
I think he'd do
He might
terrible.
run. I think he will too, but I mean, I don't really know they haven't really had any big characters. I don't think. Like Trump's just taken up so much of the media attention.
Yeah.
The only other one that really has any, the only one that really came to mind was like Crenshaw. He also had some media attention, but like Trump's kind of taken all the air out of the room.
Yeah. Yeah.
So unless it's like Pence, just because he was associated with well, it really depends on the Trump legacy, really. Like I think some of that's going to depend.
I think if that's going to matter too, because if he does, like, I think if this second term happens and Trump like just completely does pretty much the same stuff as this last one, maybe even better. I'm telling you, if another Trump decides to run, it'd be hard. I'd like what? We've tried establishment Republicans and look where the fuck it got us.
Yeah.
Like, no, I like
not like dynasties. Like,
yeah.
But I wouldn't mind Trump dynasty.
I wouldn't mind it, but I mean, there's a lot of people that would agree with Sean and I. Like, I wouldn't fucking mind it. And it's like,
that's like the one good dynasty you could have.
Criticisms about the Bush
and he might actually get a lot. He might just get. You could make an argument that he could end up being more popular in the voting count because he doesn't do the Twitter feed like Donald Trump. Like, even though it's successful for him, I'm saying it's successful for him, but there's going to be a group of people that might run away, but he'll still gain people from not having as eccentric of a Twitter feed as Donald Trump. as the
But
the father. There's an argument. I'm not saying I would agree with it. I'm
Mhm.
saying there you could make an argument for that. Good.
yeah, I
Good.
mean, you absolutely could, but I don't know. I think some like the people who love Trump will love it, but I mean, really, it's going to depend on how people feel about the Trump presidency. Like, if his second
Yeah.
term's viewed like Bush's second term, like, there's no way in hell his son's going to go in there.
Well, he didn't have the Iraq War, so he's already.
Well,
He's
you don't know
already
what's going to happen on the second term. Like, honestly, I think the Iraq War, like, that was part of it, but you start looking at some of the other stuff that happened.
No,
There
Like,
was
that
a
was probably an even
recession
bigger
too.
sort
Don't
of
forget
look.
that.
it
Like,
was
you forget the
look,
housing crisis.
Yeah.
what it was. So yeah, so what it was. I mean, what it was. I mean, when I was, living it. Yeah, having 2 wars and lowering taxes. That put a financial strain on literally everything. Oil, everything. Like unemployment went up, like it's just like all of that stuff because you need to fund it somehow. Like you need to fund these wars somehow. Like so you're going to have 2 wars, you're not going to pillage anything. So you're like so it's like and then you're going to lower taxes. Like you're going to have the Bush tax cuts, which weren't as low as Donald Trump's. But anyway, but you still had them, and it's like, well, something had to give. Well, obviously, something gave. The economy went to shit,
Well,
right?
no, that wasn't the
wasn't
whole
why.
reason why
Yeah.
That wasn't the whole thing, but it's a dominant. But that was part of the domino effect because gas
Oh.
started fucking going up.
The
Gas
biggest
started
reason
going
for
up.
the biggest reason was that whole mortgage crisis. So that was the biggest thing that happened. And honestly, a lot of that.
That's what led Obama to win. That's part what because that happened in the housing thing that happened in 2008. That was right when he was ready to go. When he was up ready to go, that was that.
I think Katrina, that was a big thing.
Yeah, that was a
'Cause
big
lot of
fuck
people-
up.
The mismanagement of that.
Well,
That went pretty bad.
that really wasn't his fault. Not
I
really.
know. And yeah, I mean, the Iraq War did have a big
Honestly,
part. Don't get
because
me wrong.
honestly, it was like FEMA did everything it could, like really,
No,
but what
but it looked
it was so dirty. Like what happened during that, there was so much dirty shit. You had a whole bunch of dirty organizations that were popping up out of nowhere. They were getting government assistance. They were getting government assistance via loans and all that stuff. And then you had outsiders giving money by the troves, and it was like they were just blowing it on, all kinds of crazy shit.
But honestly, I think the thing that hurt
the bailouts fucked him up too. The bailouts really fucked him up too because he just gave money. Like it was like the first bailout was he was just giving money. There was no real strings on that money. And you had the same people that were crying foul and like, oh, we're too big to fail. They were buying suites at the Super Bowl, luxury suites at the fucking Super Bowl. That did not sit well with voters.
Well, I think a lot of the stuff that happened with Bush, it kind of happened after he was done being it poisoned his legacy. But I think a lot of this stuff, it happened after he left the office. I think that was kind of what happened with Bush. Like his legacy fell apart after he left.
Yeah, I think anything good that he had going from got overshadowed by all the bad, like you were saying, that came after his time.
I think most of it, the Iraq War was definitely a bit unpopular, but I think afterwards it became even more unpopular.
Because after 9/11, his approval rating
sky high.
Fucking sky high.
Yeah.
People loved it for his first term.
Well, because he handled it really well.
Happened, we were like, because the Iraq War happened, and we were like, I was stationed in Hawaii when all that was happening. I was like, what the fuck, really? Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that was positive for him while he was. Now looking back 20 years later, it's or not maybe not quite 20 years, but people it's changed, and now no one wants to be associated with the Bush name.
Yeah.
They just see a president who got us involved in foreign conflicts, bungled the Katrina situation, and contributed and allowed a bunch of crises to happen. And I mean that some of these crises, that affect Obama too, because people, I think, a lot of people loved Obama, but I think as he ages, people are going to see, some of the stuff that he's done. And Trump's done a good job with that. Comparing that, I think Trump's actually damaged the Obama legacy more than anything else could have done.
Yeah. Well, because remember also
what happened under Obama, and we're fixing that. And,
yeah.
The economy's done great under Trump.
Well, just remember, Obama was a reaction to Bush in many ways, but Trump was also a reaction to Obama in many ways. And his legacy, more or less, is going to be Trump, which is funny. Because remember in Obama's term, the Tea Party movement started up, where you had Andrew Breitbart pushing that, a bunch of other people. That's when that sort of populist movement was kind of starting up and gaining some national traction. And that sort of died away, but Trump took it to, shaped it up and repackaged it to a level that was just much better and what people were looking for. And Obama contributed to that. Last thing I want to talk...
also Snowden. I think Snowden's legacy is going to affect the Obama presidency more than a lot of people give it credit for.
I actually forgot about that. That's true.
People, a lot of people, that was when all that stuff got released.
Yeah.
I think that's when they're going to think of Obama. That's going to be another. Your legacy largely involves events that are probably outside of your control.
Unfortunately.
People think FDR, he got us out of depression, but honestly, what got us out of the depression was World War II, and that was not really something that he could have, predicted or been a part of. And that's why people think so highly, especially Democrats, of FDR. It's with Trump, right now, if Trump were to just disappear at this point, and we only had that one term, I think he'd be remembered pretty highly because of all the things like the economy, the way it was.
Yeah, Trump's going to be remembered for the booming economy, for de-escalating foreign intervention, and for bringing jobs back. Those are going to be his biggest things, and hopefully also... So again, this is why this election's so important, because he needs to get the House back. He can also be remembered for immigration reform if he gets the House back. And I think the positive sign I'm seeing is in midterms, people don't seem to vote. Turnout seems to be lower in general. But when a presidential election is happening and those down ballot candidates are on there, I saw this during 2016. You had people not only voting for Trump, but voting down ballot to make sure his shit would get done. 2020, I think you're going to see that trend again because people are really energized for Trump. There was a number coming out of New Hampshire, it could be a fluke. I want to preface that it could be a fluke, but they showed turnout for Trump at an insanely high level. So in Bill Clinton in New Hampshire, these are all incumbent runs. Bill Clinton got about 77,000 votes. Bush W, he got about 54,000. Obama got 50,000. Guess how much Trump got? Just take a guess if you haven't heard this number. How much he got in New Hampshire?
He spiked it. He killed
120,000.
Yeah.
That's insane. That's huge for a Republican incumbent in New Hampshire. If these people are voting, to be honest, it doesn't matter because Trump doesn't have any competition. When he does have competition, more people are going to come out. Oh my God. That to me is such a promising sight if we see this trend continue in other states. So I'm loving that. I'm just loving that.
We're going to have to go and see what happens on his campaign too. All it takes is campaigns are so fragile. All it takes is one fucking, who was that? Who's that guy who did that? The hi-ya, or
Howard Dean.
Yeah, all it takes is one fucking Howard Dean moment to completely derail it.
Well, Trump also is very unique where he's kind of, they've called him Teflon Don because they've tried everything on this guy and it just doesn't fucking stick. Not saying there isn't something that won't stick, but he's pretty much invincible in some ways.
I mean, the only way is if, that the only thing I would think would really be a problem is if that N-word tape really exists and it gets leaked.
Yeah.
But I don't know, with these days, with the way that they have these like, computer generated voice things, I think he could even make an argument that it was faked, unless they
Yeah.
have like the original fucking thing.
Yeah.
And you get a lot of people to believe it, even if it was true.
Look, and to be honest, I think I'm going to be real too. Maybe I get hate for this, but whatever. Like if somebody drops an N-bomb, okay, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not. Like,
agree.
Because it's not it. Like the people that are offended on Twitter do not represent the country as a whole. Like, obviously obviously the N-bomb is a terrible word and you should try not to say it at all. But if somebody says it years ago, it's not really gonna stick as much. I mean, look, Hulk Hogan said the N-bomb, okay? And like they did, the WWE distanced themselves, but after a couple of years, it's like, okay, they let him. He's back in the WWE Hall of Fame, and he's still doing appearances all over the world representing WWE. It doesn't have staying power, and it's like because the most of the Americans put things into perspective. They put things into perspective. Okay, right. You said a horrible thing. You didn't do it. You're not doing it anymore. Okay, there it is.
Now, to play a little devil's advocate on that, because I kind of agree with that, but
now if you're
look
a
at what
Republican,
happened.
If you're a Democrat, that's different. If you're a Democrat, you're screwed. But anyway, go ahead.
I was gonna say, look at what happened to Papa John's. Somebody who used the word in a totally mostly innocuous context, where he was saying, Colonel Sanders used to say, and nothing happened to him. He wasn't using the word against a black person or in a derogatory way. He was just saying, this is what happened, and et cetera, et cetera. And he lost everything. Now, in politics, I know it's a different game.
That's part of his fault too. So part of his fault is like when you're the face of an organization, and he was literally Papa John's had his face on every box, right? Like, look, when you're the face of an organization, every little piece of you is getting going under the microscope, and you can't say stuff like that. It's like Paula Deen, right? When Paula Deen said that stuff.
Yeah, but she didn't say it. She just admitted to saying it long ago.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. Like everything is going to be under the microscope. Like, and even the slightest hubbub will, have its effect on you because you are the face of an organization. Whereas, I don't know.
The president's the face of America, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So doesn't that kind of, I don't want to say it goes against what you're saying before, but doesn't that make it sort of, maybe it depends on the situation? I don't know.
No, because well, it depends. There's context. There's context. The majority of Americans have context. Like they understand that there's context to every situation. Like that. This is what I'm saying. Like, so people are looking at Twitter and they're looking at like what's on MSNBC and they're thinking that's fucking real life. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Like people understand, somebody said something bad years ago. Okay. Got it. Am I going to hold that up to somebody for the rest of their lives? No. I'm not going to do that.
No.
Like that's not going to. It might hurt them in terms of endorsements or whatever. But for actual votes, it's like no. What are you doing? What are you doing? What's your policies? Do they go in line with what I believe in? Right. That's why you got Amish people voting for Donald Trump, right? because before Donald Trump, like this was somebody who's been divorced twice, who's been a
Cheated.
Democrat, who's been who's had multiple bankruptcies with his business, who's manipulated stuff to his advantage via government law, whatever, right? You would think that somebody like that would go against everything that like evangelical Christians and like the Amish people would stand for, but they still came out and voted for it.
But I think, and I'd have to think more on this, but I think Trump's a unique circumstance where people were so angry with the establishment, so pissed off at everything, and Trump was such an amazing candidate that all this stuff that would normally tank a normal candidate just didn't matter for him.
That's the definition of context, right? The people understand that there's more than just one thing that somebody does, or even two things that somebody does.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think there's, I could be
in business. No, in business you could be ruined, completely ruined by something like that or whatever.
PewDiePie had a similar situation where he dropped it on a gaming stream, and he lost a bunch of endorsements. So I mean, his fans stuck with him, but I think also your fans.
Still doing good now.
What?
Yeah.
See?
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Didn't kick him off. Didn't kick him off of YouTube. But I mean, it does from a business sense. But like, look, like as far as like people and votes and follow, like nobody cares. Like nobody cares in the long term. People don't care in the long term. It's like, and that's the beauty of America, right? We're a nation. We're supposed to be a nation, a forgiving nation, and a nation of second chances, right? That's literally what we're talking about.
Yeah,
I know, but
I don't think everybody gets that fair shot though, or that second chance.
No, of course not. But like if you have nothing, right? If you have nothing, if you there's context in that as well. Like with politics, if you don't stand for anything, or if politics was your game your whole life, and then this slips out, it's going to hurt you a lot more than say Donald Trump, who's built himself beyond before politics even entered his life, and then he did.
Yeah, I think that's true.
And honestly, like with Bloomberg, and honestly, this thing with Bloomberg, I don't think it's going to affect him in the long term either. I think it's like
I think the stop and frisk stuff hurts his black vote. I don't think it hurts any of the other vote.
I'm not sure I'm not sure he was gonna win the black vote anyway. But anyway,
I don't think a lot of people just really cared for him to begin with. Though. Like,
he has
to literally pay people to make memes about him.
Yeah.
Like no one gives a shit about this guy. Like people are doing it for free with Trump. I mean, maybe he paid some at some point, but I'm sure, like, especially when it started out, a lot of people were doing it because they thought it was like he was a meme candidate. Like there was no way he would win.
Well, speaking of people that people give a shit about or don't give a shit about, last thing I wanted to talk about, because I always try to bring some culture stuff to this. There's a music artist. Are you both familiar with Billie Eilish?
Yeah.
I'm not too familiar with him. What songs are you doing?
Her, actually. But
isn't she some fake goth chick or whatever?
That's what I want to get
goth
into.
Chick singing pop, something like that.
Okay, she used to be a SoundCloud sort of star, and then she made one album last year with her brother, who is also writing all her shit and mixing it and doing everything basically for her, minus singing. And they did this album themselves in their bedroom, and I guess there's a label probably pushing them or help propping them up or whatever. I don't think it's as grassroots as they make it sound. And that album, for some reason, super popular, and she won a bunch of Grammys, like a ridiculous amount. She's only like 18 or something. Then on Sunday, she was at the Oscars singing Yesterday by the Beatles, which, side note, Paul McCartney's still alive. He wrote that song. They didn't invite him to perform it. I personally don't like that, but they had her do it, Miss Depressed Girl. And now she's already, I mean, this feels so manufactured to me now. She's already doing the Bond theme song. That's when I first actually heard her name, was when they said she was doing the Bond theme. Like, who the fuck is this? And I Googled her and started listening to a bit of her stuff. And she released just the other day, on Thursday, her Bond theme, which I think, frankly, is rather boring and unimaginative. It didn't impress me at all, but people are like fawning over it. They're her fans. And I think this is a good, to me, like a good example of how the music industry is so fucking manufactured and everything's engineered and there's no organic talent anymore in the mainstream pop music, that is. Because I look at her and her voice isn't anything special. She's nothing special. Her music is nothing special. It's kind of pretty stripped down, which is fine. Music can be simple. I love a lot of simple music, but there's nothing about it that catches me. And it sounds like the music industry, the record companies kind of sat together. They did some demographic searching and some polling, and they're like, all right, young Zoomer girls are all depressed. They're all into this depression culture and whatever, and they're all nihilists. Let's get one of them, and we're going to market her. And so they sort of picked her up off of SoundCloud and made her do this shit for cheap because she's just doing it with her brother. You know, they saw it's perfect and cheap, and she has these like hairstyles and all that. And now they've shoved her into everything and kind of they're forcing you to like her in a sense. You know, she's got this Oscar gig, these Grammys, and now the Bond theme. And I'm like, this is so just manufactured and engineered. And I listen to her music and it's like, bleh, meh. I don't get it. I mean, I kind of get it. I get the appeal to younger women, you know, our age. But at the same time, like I said, she's just kind of boring, frankly, and seems kind of fake. She's a vegetarian, all this shit.
I bet this has been happening for a long time, like longer than you realize.
Yeah.
Like, you know, just a bunch of fake musicians, like just people being propped up. Because look, there's so much talent out in this world, in the music world, and like really anything. For anyone to get chosen, it almost feels like they had, you know, they probably did like A/B testing, like unless it's something like really out of the blue.
Yeah.
Just because of how hard it is to get like into this industry if you haven't already like, you know, known someone or did something.
Yeah.
Like look at how many actors and stuff have like brothers and stuff who are also actors.
Well, I was gonna
Like,
mention that with her.
That would be for you to,
Well, she comes from
like
privilege. She comes from extreme privilege. I said, she's a good example of that. She comes from extreme privilege. She's from LA, and her parents have connections to the movie, music industry, and all that sort of shit. So she just didn't come from nowhere. You know, her family knew people and probably talked her into things.
Yeah, like look how much like music artists and actors and stuff come from California. You know, that it's not because they're actually like uniquely good because you'd see other people like that. It's just because they're in the right place at the right time, and you know they end up getting in someone's pocket, or you know they let them in your pants. You know that's why people like Jeffrey Epstein exist, because there's gatekeepers.
That casting couch.
Yeah.
Fucking Harvey Weinstein. Like, yeah, look, I mean, is Harvey Weinstein, and is he a fucking creeper? Yeah, he is. But you know what? Look, how else are these people, these no talent ass clowns, gonna get in a fucking movie, right?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, like you know, fucking Mira Sorvino. She's no fucking acting talent. She was the daughter of a fucking, you know, some fucking Italian actor from The Godfather or whatever, or The Goodfellas, something like that, right? She had no legitimate talent of her own, so yeah, she had to go. Yeah, look, and then Ashley Judd, really, Ashley Judd sucked ass too. No, Billie Eilish. I mean, I never really liked any of her shit. Like I still watch professional wrestling from time to time. Don't judge me.
You did.
But yeah, one of the songs, so one of the theme songs for one of their pay-per-views was a Billie Eilish song.
Yeah.
It was like, you should see me in the crowd. And it was like, what is this shit? Like, what is this garbage?
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, well, apparently. And then I was I have Sirius XM, and it's all over Sirius XM, all Billie
Mhm.
Eilish all the time. You turn it on the pop station or the top 40 station, they just play that shit over and over and over again.
Yep.
And I'm like, dude, she's like look, how did she get famous? I mean, like, she probably, it was just probably a drug deal or some shit like that. She's probably like the Pretenders. Like, the Pretenders were shit. Like, that's like the worst fucking band ever, right? But she's hot, right? The lead singer's hot, or she was fuckable back in the day. And I was like, oh, well, let's give her a record deal, whatever.
Yeah, like honestly, I bet that's like with most people. Like there's people out there who literally gatekeep these industries, and they probably look for people who are either, like people like Epstein who want to find someone who they can get into their pants, or you have other people who are like, oh, this will look good. They'll spread our Democrat propaganda. Because a lot of these people are Democrats.
And
And I
Billy,
bet that's what they go and look for. You don't see that many right wing like stars out there. You have like Ted Nugent. You have like a couple actors here and there, but I feel like for the most part, they get involved with some of that.
By the way, Ted Nugent is still probably one of my favorite guitarists ever. Like, ever.
He's great. And like, I mean, there's,
Ever.
I think, like, but you see, there's very few of them out in that industry.
yeah.
I still think that the damn Yankees song "Come Again" is like probably like the riff that he does on that song. Oh, I'm like, I would kill to have that ability.
Mhm.
My God, so like so incredible. Anyway, sorry,
and I think that
I was
there's some
digressing.
like there's some people I think that come out organically.
Yeah.
Part it's all manufactured. Like it's 90 probably percent manufactured, especially now with the internet. You get a couple that are real, but for the most part, there's some sort of involvement from either producers, record executives, maybe like a board of trustees, and they probably, look for these people. Oh, okay, this person will be good to, start making music because anyone could like, maybe not anyone, but there's a lot of talent out in this world, and it's just certain people. They can only have so many like superstars. There's people out there, just regular nobodies that I bet can do, music twice as good as she can do.
Oh yeah.
And I think
based on how many people exist.
And I know this has obviously been a thing before, but I think it's just more so than ever that the industry looks at trends and they pick up people that they can use for a trend or that lasts a little bit, disregard them and get another one. And if you look at Billie Eilish's parents, on Wikipedia, I looked a little deeper. It says she is the daughter of actress and screenwriter Maggie Bard, might be pronouncing it wrong, and actor Patrick O'Connell, both of whom are also musicians. She was raised in LA's Highland Park neighborhood. She was homeschooled, and her mother taught her and her eldest brother, Phineas O'Connell, basics of songwriting. And Maggie, her mother, was involved with a bunch of TV shows like Bones, X-Files, 6 Feet Under. She was in her own films, did some other shit. So, like I said, these people are born in privilege, born in the industry. And, I kind of get annoyed with Billie's sort of shtick of being, I'm not like the other girls. Like, it's that meme in a nutshell.
You are like the other girls. You're exactly like the other girls.
I know.
100% fake, like everybody else.
Yep. Yeah. It's just annoying.
I think that's why, like, they want to go and remove things and, like, highly censor them, stuff like YouTube, because they don't want actual organic talent anymore. Because that's, if you get actual talent, there's a chance that they might not be politically correct. They might not go and tote the party line. They might, and a lot of these people, I think, they're just thrown into stardom. Maybe not.
They favor. I'm sorry. They favor people that play ball. Like they want somebody that'll play ball.
Yeah.
And like not everybody, not the most talented people tend to know that they're talented, and they tend to, be difficult sometimes, or what the label sees as difficult. And yeah. And besides, it's not like we're at a point now where the music industry, like, you don't need big labels to be successful anymore. We've seen quite a few musicians that have done it all really all on their own. You look at somebody like Chance the Rapper, he's independent. Wiz Khalifa, independent, right? These are people that you don't need, if you're that talented, you might as well just say, hey, I'm doing this all by myself, because if your stuff is good, people are going to follow you.
Well, it's hard though to even get noticed because there's so many good people out there in this world.
Did they get that
in Wiz Khalifa? There's probably like 20 other people the same level of talent at.
Did they get that independence though after they became famous? Did a big label help them get to where they are, and then they could go independent?
No, I think they went into. Well, I think they might have done some small labels. So a lot of these guys might have done small labels to maybe get. But yeah, like, and a lot of these bands, and then you get a lot of rock bands, they do their own stuff and then they get signed to a big label. Like they do their smaller label stuff, and then they like Nickelback. Fucking hate Nickelback, but but they funded all of their stuff all on their own, and they were touring and all that stuff before they got signed by like Roadrunner Records, which was I think they were a Universal subsidiary at the time. But yeah, and then once that happened, that's when you started hearing all of their shitty songs. But yeah, like that's like.
And the other thing,
you don't need.
I was looking at
the one that kind of comes to my mind is like Soulja Boy, because I know he was the first one that was basically made by YouTube. But I think after that, and after probably a couple more of those, you get a lesson, because they realize that hey, you can get some of these crazy people out here. And
I mean, a lot of the time, look, and then you have a lot of, you have a lot of these independent artists that were independent, and then it's like, then a big label throws all kinds of fucking money at you, and then how do you say no to that? Like Machine Gun Kelly, he had, he was doing his own thing for a little bit, and then fucking Bad Boy signed him, and it was like, you throw somebody that kind of money, like how the fuck do you say no to that? But I mean, do you need it? No, not really.
And I think
it's not a true meritocracy in that.
Well, I think the other thing too is if you look back to even some huge names that we consider legends, like Elvis Presley, for example, he never wrote a single one of his songs. Not many people know that, but he didn't write a single one of his songs. But
not very many people do that now anymore. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, that's true. But
like they had songwriters and they had singers.
Yeah, but here's the thing, and this is where I'm trying to make an important distinction between then and now. Is that now, or then, even though Elvis didn't write any of his songs, he still had talent as an individual in terms of singing, in terms of dancing and stage performance. Like I was watching one of his videos where he's just standing there singing. I think the song is called "If I Could Dream" or "If I Can Dream," and it just captivates you. Just the way he's singing and the presence he has and the passion he has. He has no flashy lights or outrageous costumes and all kinds of like backup dancers and all this other shit. It's just him and his voice and his swagger and his charisma. So even then, he was probably this sort of marketed product in a way, sure, but he still had talent in him in singing and in performance. You look at somebody like fucking, I don't know, like Bruno Mars or Ariana Grande or any of these people. What do they have? What talent do they honestly have? They have producers writing everything for them that write for other artists, and they put some other people to flash up their performances, and that's fucking it.
You ever see that Ariana Grande person? Like, she looks like that Rachel Dolezal, like some white girl, like spray tanning themselves to look like she's like some sort of other
black
race.
By the way, Ariana Grande. Okay, let's speaking of Ariana Grande. Okay, I gotta say, if you find her attractive, you're a fucking pedophile. I'm sorry. I know she's above age, but she looks like she's like a minor, right? So if you find her fuckable, you're a pedophile. End of story.
How old is she? Anyway. Let's see. She's 26. She's 26.
Yeah, she looks like she's fucking 16.
Yeah, she does. She actually
Yeah, that's
does.
probably because the record producers want to go and like.
Yeah, because they're pedophiles. Because they're pedophiles.
I bet that whole industry, it's probably full of
They're all-
pedophiles.
yeah.
You just haven't seen most of
Like,
them yet.
no,
So you
you're
think
disgusting.
Hollywood-
Like, if you find her attractive, you're disgusting, and you should castrate yourself. Public service announcement.
like,
Good thing we're
what is
not
up
on
with
air.
those girls though? It's like the newest thing is like, do you see the picture of her before and after? Like, she just like changed her skin color. It was like a reverse Michael Jackson. Like, what's going on here?
I'm gonna look that
she's
up.
trying to go
Actually.
She's
appeal.
trying to appeal to the ethnic.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and that's kind of messed up too when you see that.
Yeah.
They can't go and like actually, find someone that is of whatever ethnicity she's pretending to be. They just go and pay some white person to basically, like, it's basically modern day blackface with some of that shit.
Dude, look at this picture. She looks like a different person almost.
Yeah, she does. It's modern day blackface. She looks like she's like, what was it, like a Latina or something? I don't know what her actual ethnicity. You can look at her beforehand. It's like one of those things like before and after feminism. Like you get, it'll be like some like cute girl, and then you go and see her after, and then she's like full of like just a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
Going back to,
and dyes her like armpit hair pink.
but by the way, so I know I'm really fucking shit up here in this conversation.
No,
but,
we enjoyed that.
yeah. So I was since we were talking about, how we were talking about like songwriters and all that shit, right?
Yeah.
So I for shits and giggles, I decided to look up Taylor Swift, right?
Oh boy.
Because
You want to talk about manufactured?
She was born in Reading, Pennsylvania. That's a shithole. Anyway, sorry about that.
I've heard that before. Yeah.
So I noticed that. Yeah, whatever. No.
Sorry, people of Reading.
Yeah, whatever. You like look. You know it's a shithole. That's why you live.
That's
because it's cheap to live there.
Well,
anyway,
she did leave.
or because the access to drugs is readily available. Anyway.
Well, see, she's prepared for Hollywood.
Yeah, she's perfect.
Yeah, she was. So anyway, I know I'm continuing to digress. The so her CD Reputation, that was the one. I think she had another one, but I didn't give a shit about that one.
Mm-hmm.
So this last one that was kind of sort of popular-ish. She had 6 producers.
Wow.
6 fucking producers for her shit, right? That's insane.
The fucking Beatles just had George Martin, and they were cranking out,
and she had
record albums. Why she need 6?
She has changed. Like, if you, like before she like, I don't know if she got sexually harassed or she pretended to be sexually harassed. I don't know if it was like I can't tell when these people are being truthful.
And she didn't solely write any of her fucking songs. She's on the credits, which why the fuck wouldn't she be?
Yeah.
But yeah, she's not. She did not solely write a single track on that CD.
Wow.
Not one.
Wow.
Well, to be fair, I think like the Beatles, like before the Beatles, like that was the thing that made them unique, was actually dead. Like,
yeah.
This is a pretty modern phenomenon.
Well, but yeah, I mean, like for example, like in a lot of these other things, like I said, Elvis is one of them. A lot of these other, rock groups, kind of when rock wasn't really the biggest thing yet. They were kind of covering a lot of blues songs and shit like that. But you look at the Beatles, and the credits for who wrote the songs will be like Paul McCartney and John Lennon, or this person, that person. It's not fucking producer A, producer B, and producer C. And, a lot of groups in the 60s, 70s, 80s were writing their shit. I mean, there's obviously plenty that weren't, but it was still talent was popular then. Now it's like...
Well, like it is a different skill set, though. Like, you could be a great fucking singer.
Yeah.
Well, you might not just be creative.
Of course, and that's why people like Elvis were given material, but they were still talented in some aspect of music. Like somebody like, and these artists are fucking auto-tuning their voices and editing everything in post. It's like the final product probably sounds nothing like what you heard in the studio.
Yeah, no, I bet that's the case, and that's I don't know, how the hell's that even like go out to like if they were in a you know, it's gonna sound like shit if they don't have all that like post fucking production
Yeah.
shit in there.
And yeah, there were some works like when the Beatles did stuff like when the Beatles stopped touring because their albums got so much more, you know, their songs got more complicated when they had like horns and strings and all these other things in it that they couldn't perform live. But at the end of the day, it was still, they're fucking recording that shit in their studios. They're recording the horns and the strings and their vocals. Yeah, they were manipulating it a bit, and that's fine. Like, there's no problem with that. But at the same time, it's still, again, it's songwriting, it's talent there. And even Paul McCartney never, I think he still doesn't know how to write music. But what they would do is they would jam out, come up with melodies, and record. I mean, I'm not saying they have to be able to write songs, but they need to have talent and creativity, you know? And that's the difference here.
You get a team too. Like these days, it's all solo artists for the most part.
Yeah.
Like unless you're talking about like a metal band or something.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a little bit different with that.
Yeah, the music industry's gotten just so just depressing for me because I mean I love music. It's like one of my favorite things, and you see where it's gotten to, and it's just like every time I see this new face coming up, like a Billie Eilish or something, I'm like, okay, they're gonna be pushed for the next few years. I'm not gonna like them. They're gonna be trendy and hip and all that jazz, and I'm not gonna give a shit. You know, it's I don't know when it'll ever turn around. I mean, the one thing that's beautiful about the internet and these things is that they do give you a platform for, you know, anybody to put music on there, but these record companies still, you know, they help you with the marketing, the promotion, the touring, all these things that are vital to a successful artist. You know, I think we could see some turnarounds, but I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, like that's the one good thing. You know, you mentioned that, right? Like we do have SoundCloud, and it's up to people to actually like pay attention to this things, but sooner or later, you know, SoundCloud might just be like, hey, we can basically be our own record company and like do what's going on with YouTube. You know,
especially when the market's so oversaturated. You know, when you have an oversaturated market, it's like, how are you going to find certain artists when there's so much shit out there?
Yeah, you're gonna, like, I mean, you do kind of need some sort of person to go and do that, or you just need to go and like listen to a bunch of different people.
Yeah.
But then those people won't get the funding they need to go and like dedicate their life to it.
Yeah,
so then,
exactly.
You know, it creates issues with that. But I mean, you know, with the kind of decline of actual like CD sales, who's to say that like just making like pop stars and stuff are gonna be as profitable right now as, you know, they used to be?
Well, they make nothing from CDs or anything. Like a CD, they only make $1 from, like maybe at most. They make all their money through touring. It's touring that,
how much are they gonna be making off of like SoundCloud and shit? And like if they're all this like garbage where it's like auto-tuned, they won't really be able to go on tour with that.
That's the problem.
Like post-production shit.
Well, yeah, that's the problem with like these smaller people like on SoundCloud. They can't go touring, but all these big names can because the record companies help them out with that. And, you know, they're, like I said, that's where they make their money. Because, like, you see the ticket price, they're fucking expensive. And everybody's taking a cut, of course. But at the end of the day, you're going to make a shit ton more through touring and merchandise than you ever will through fucking, you know, people buying your shit. Now everybody's streaming everything. So I don't know how that works out.
Probably even less money because, you know, you pay $10 for Spotify. And most people just go and look at it on YouTube or anything. So they're not getting, like, you're paying for, like, an advertisement. It's like using the radio. People don't even really, you know, purchase music like they used to.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I couldn't tell you the last time that I bought a CD or record or anything like that.
That's why I still buy them. I feel like you gotta support these, especially good artists somehow. I always buy their albums if I like it.
You know, that's, I mean, not, a lot of times, like, computers don't even, like, you have to go and buy or something, or, you know, Google Play, because most computers these days are making them without CD drives.
Yeah.
And like even cars don't come with them as much. It's all like digital. Like how much, like, I mean, maybe they're making more money like per song actually like through Google. I don't know. Or like
they should technically be, because there's, you know, you don't have to print the CD, you don't have to print the, you know, the booklet with it or do any of the packaging, shipping, all that shit. But maybe Google takes a big cut. I don't know. I don't know how that works out, but yeah, like what I do is I'll buy a CD, I'll upload to my computer, put it in storage, and then download on my phone. Everything's, I can play it everywhere else. But, I make sure I have a physical copy in some way. Or unless they sell like a lossless online, I'll do it that way too.
How much do they sell the lossless for?
I don't know. Like it depends on the artist. I know one artist I bought some from recently. It was kind of pricey, but I didn't bother me at all. It was kind of like I think it wasn't a full album. That's the other thing. I think it was like it was between like $10 and $15, but it wasn't like a full album. It was like an EP. So, it is what it is.
I don't know. It's just I haven't really been hearing anything that really resonates with me anymore. I'll just listen to old shit because that it sounds better. Like
Yeah, it
most
still
of this
lives up
modern
to
shit.
it.
Yeah, everything just like today. Every kind of music just sounds like a different version of the same shit that
Yeah.
has been done. Like it's
Yeah.
not, oh wow, that sounds interesting. Like no, it's like, oh, it sounds just like something else. Like
Same shit, different
Yeah,
name.
like I like country music, and they don't. Country music sounds like shit. I have to listen to stuff from the '70s because they at least sound like fucking music back then.
Yeah.
fucking people today, they're singing about, oh, my tractor. They've never been in a fucking tractor in their lives.
Yeah, like it's basically just fucking pop with a fucking fiddle. It's fiddle pop.
Yeah, that's the
all
thing.
it fucking is, and they probably don't even use a fucking fiddle half the time.
Yeah.
It's not fucking real country music. Like all that they do is like, oh, she thinks my tractor's sick. And like, at least that song when that came out, that was
even
pretty
their fucking twangs are fake as shit.
Yeah, it's just
the way that they talk. The way they talk, all that little southern jive,
Dude,
fake as fuck.
Like these people, like who was that? Like one of them was just like big fucking rebel flag. I'm like, dude, you're fucking country artists. Like they're such pussies, and like they had a bunch of them. Now they're like anti-gun. I was like, what the fuck happened? These people are not like, you won't know who the fuck they are if they went into like the sticks. Like they'd probably get like their ass like beat up if they went to like an actual like bonfire, but people still buy that shit.
And the other thing I've noticed too is, and look, I get that this is still kind of out there, and there are different genres, yeah, but it seems like music is not as fun anymore. And I'm not saying it has to be, because I listen to a wide variety of happy, sad, and every emotion in between of music, but it feels like you'd see like a lot of like older groups, especially like everybody would love them, and there was this sort of like fun vibe associated. Now everything's so serious about drugs, violence, gangs.
Well, to be fair, that like they've had that shit for a long time with like drugs and gangs and shit, like fucking 80s, like in 90s, like gangster rap. Like the rap they have these days, like mumble bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
We're like Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang. Like bullshit like that. Like that's fucking just all they're trying to go and do is make a fucking catchy ring.
Yeah.
It feels like it's like a fucking like commercial on the television. That's basically what they're doing. It's like getting a fucking meme stuck in your head.
Yeah. Well,
like it's like black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow.
Yeah, and there's actually been studies done. I remember doing this for a paper on music that show that not only has music gotten dumber, but it's also gotten less creative. Like when they analyze the variations and the I forget what the term was called, the timbre, I forget how it's pronounced. A bunch of other things they're looking at, the lyrics, the word choices, all these other things, and they would say like, yeah, there was some like obviously some themes and similarities of back in the day and that still carry to now, but the creativity has just decreased dramatically.
Yeah, like you won't find anything like the Beatles anymore. Find that sort of just something different.
Well, like
maybe we've just gotten to the point where like we're just so far advanced, like everything that could be sung about has probably already been sung about to some extent.
I think part of that's you too. Like I realize now that I'm getting older, I realize how a lot of this shit actually works, and now it's just made me less interested in the music industry, like in the way that shit is now. But I mean, I think it's a mixture of a lot of things. I think because it's like you look at a lot of these music stars now, and it's like they're in a mold of something that used to be before. You have a lot of you'll have a mold of what Michael Jackson used to be. You'll have a mold of what, like, Tupac used to be. You have a Madonna, you have a Madonna. You have all these people that were famous back in the day and that made it famous. Like there's some sort of mold like that right now. Like,
yeah, that's so true.
It's all been done before.
Yeah.
It's all been done before, and like I just don't know what they can really do to innovate anymore. Obviously they're gonna find a way to do something, I imagine, but like it's just so fucking boring. Like honestly, too, it's like I could either listen to some bullshit song or I can listen to a fucking like podcast or something that will actually like teach me something. With these days like YouTube and like SoundCloud, I can look at like that shit. And like honestly, I just been listening to podcasts more because like the music sounds like shit, and with that same amount of time, the same amount of effort, I can go and learn something, have something done that's never been done. Like get new information versus I'm just listening to the same shit on repeat.
Yeah.
That's kind of like how I've been feeling lately. Or I can listen to like a fucking old song that I've already heard before, but I know like it's good. But I just end up listening to fucking podcasts 99% of the time. Like,
Yeah, and I think also, like, if you look at, I keep bringing up the Beatles, I think it's very representative of those times. Like, they were doing shit where, they were innovating on just what, like, an album cover would be. And I know, it's hard to do that now, I guess, kind of, but they were doing shit where it was like, you first just had the band's faces on there and all that, but then it moved to the album cover becoming actually like a considered art or doing something with it that didn't necessarily have the band on there. Like when you had the Sgt. Pepper's cover, that was a expensive big project that was just unheard of. You had the White Album, which was just literally a white cover. It didn't even have the band on there except its name. Like you had Abbey Road, which had them on it, but didn't even have their name or anything like that. You had Dark Side of the Moon with Pink Floyd that was a graphic design. Like all that sort of shit was unique for the time, but now it's like, it's all about like putting tits on the cover and, Ariana Grande's big ass and all these other things. And I get it, the sex sells and all that, but it's getting so bland and boring. And now you have like Billie Eilish being like, oh, I'm not like the other girls sort of look on there. And it's just getting more and more of the same, just sort of recycled trash. And you don't see people like, you don't see a next Michael Jackson or a next Paul McCartney or a next, anything like that coming up. It's just, it's depressing.
Honestly, I think part of it maybe it's like your major that fucked it up, honestly, because like you probably get these fucking marketers in there, and it's like, okay, we can either make you do good songs and they might sell okay, and you have to put a lot of work into it, or you could just do like one fucking catchy, like chorus or something, and like a fucking catchy tune. And that's all they like that's all they're working on now because that's what sells. Like people don't give a shit about, these like songs and albums that like talk about all these like grand ideas when you can just have like a catchy tune in there.
No,
that's what people listen to music for.
I agree because the marketers kind of fuck things up, but I think also the consumer needs to kind of take back the power and be a bit smart with their music choices and not be buying this crap or listening to this crap, but people do. But
they
like
buy it because it's addictive.
Yeah.
It's like a drug. Like they literally, the marketers are like, hey, this is what people, down to a science, what they want to hear. It's not organic. Like,
I know.
People really make music to make music. They're making music to sell albums.
And I think you can sort of, you can kind of work the system, but also kind of bring talent to it. Like I think there's a pathway to find that. You kind of have to deal with the cards you have while also bringing, your something new to the table. I think there's ways to do that. It's just, again, also these record companies don't like investing in risks. They don't like trying new things. They want to get something that they know will appeal to a certain audience, and they'll push that for a bit and then move on, try the next trend when it comes up. So,
I mean, take a look at Old Town Road. Like that thing was specifically made. I think it was for like YouTube or something where it was like just the right amount of time before like to go and do one advertisement. It was such a short song, like the original version. Like it was like they're literally manipulating the way the songs are to make them more profitable.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with more real news.